Hey, does something about the paranormal get you in the mood to throw some hands? Does the search for more spookies to clobber get you more than a little excited? Well, congratulations! You might be a ghost slayer. But what is a ghost slayer? Well, whip out the Ouija board, find a conveniently spooky spot to trespass, and give Zach Baggins the bird for good measure, because we're going ghost.
He's a phantom.
Ah, spooky season. This is unapologetically my favorite time of year. Maybe it's the leaves changing, maybe it's that brisk fall weather, or maybe it's just my ever-growing addiction to pumpkin-flavored sugar coffee that just does something to my spooky soul. And what better way to kick off the season than with one of the Halloweeniest subclasses 5e has to offer. The Blood Hunter as a class is basically if the spirit of Spirit Halloween somehow became human and plopped down in fantasy world. And luckily for us, the Ghost Slayer is the blood hunteriest blood hunter there is. So what makes this subclass unique compared to its blood hunter brothers? Well, the Ghost Slayer just really hates ghosts. And not like the way clerics do, in that they aim to help the soul pass on. No, your average blood hunter is really just out to lay the smack down on an unsuspecting specter. Imagine if instead of high-tech, overly complicated proton packs, the Ghostbuster strolled up with a flaming sword, a whole lot of attitude, and a particular passion for pummeling poltergeists. That sounds rad as hell, actually. But first, do you love adventures inspired by Japanese folklore and legends? Would you like a gorgeous set of Yokai Dawn dice absolutely free just for backing up the physical copy of the most exciting new Kickstarter on the scene? Then just like me, you should become a backer for Ryoko's Guide to the Yokai Realms. This monstrous 350 plus page tome is packed to the brim with new feats, new monsters, new familiars, new spells, a weapon skill tree system for martials, and a brand new combat system to fight against actual kaiju. All with that beautiful flair inspired by the land of the rising sun. If that wasn't enough to sell you, this tome comes with shinobi wizards, koi fish samurai, rampaging monkey barbarians, and elemental benders straight out of your favorite shows. I don't have words for how excited I am to play in this world, and it's thanks to the wonderful creators for making it happen. The art is gorgeous, the system is masterful, the fun is endless, so what are you waiting for? Join me and 16,000 other backers and get your hands on Ryoko's Guide to the Yokai Realms. And tell them your buddy Yemba sent you. A big thanks to D&D Shorts and the Ryoko's Guide team for sponsoring the show, and now, back to the video. So you want to learn how to make dead things die. Well, it's not easy. In fact, the road to being a blood hunter takes a serious amount of blood, sweat, blood, tears, and blood. But something keeps pushing you to enact your ferocity on any nearby phantasm. Maybe it was a roaming apparition that tormented your family for years, or maybe you just really hate how Patrick Swayze makes a vase. Either way, it's your dedication to the art of ghost hunting that helps you turn ghouls into stools. Like poop? Okay, admittedly it's not my bad. Let's just move on. So to help you in your haunted hunt, you pick up the Hunter's Bane. Your Blood Hunter Order has helped you undergo a unique ritual that binds your blood to the darker corners of Faerun's underbelly. In doing so, you've changed enough to have a sixth sense for certain unwelcome presences. Now in making a survival check to track Fae, fiends, or undead, you have advantage on the search as well as the intelligence check to remember information about them. You also get a piece of that badass blood magic for some of the edgiest and definitely not cringe abilities 5e has to offer. Stop? No. Linkin Park's just a phase. So we also get the Blood Maledict, giving you particular blood curses to force on your enemies. These remind me a lot of Warlock invocations, but less sugar daddy and more self-harmy. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go through a ton of them in this video because there's plenty to choose from and they're unique enough to fit any playstyle. And luckily, the Ghost Slayer is built so that most every playstyle will work with it, which I appreciate quite a bit. But for a quick rundown of some of my favorites, you've got the Blood Curse of the Eyeless, the Blood Curse of Binding, and the Blood Curse of the Marked for some fantastic all-arounders you could look into, gaining additional blood curses at 6th, 10th, 14th, and 18th levels. Second level is here, and we can't call ourselves Ghost Slayers if we never learn how to slay ghosts. So we'll pick up a fighting style to make that a bit easier. You can take your pick between archery, dueling, great weapon, and two-weapon fighting, and as I mentioned before, the beauty of the Ghost Slayer is that any of these make fantastic options. So whether you're up close in the ectoplasm or hunting from afar, the Ghost Slayer has you covered, especially when it comes to your Crimson Right. This is the Blood Hunter's best and signature ability ability, letting you slice off a chunk of your hand meat and set your weapon ablaze, baby! Right now you can choose one damage type between fire, cold, or lightning, but your types known and amount of options increase as you level up. I've said it before, but this is probably my favorite ability in 5e. I like consequences and choices for my characters, and the idea of taking damage to deal damage just makes me very happy. Not only that, the ability is just strong, giving you an all-day buff at a very minimal risk. Just make sure you use these Himicraft abilities at the right time, or you could be the next ghost getting slain. Third level is here, and your spiritual spite has permanently affected your Crimson Right. Bars. Now instead of your usual Right damage, you can instead turn that damage into Radiant with Right of the Dawn. In addition, you also shed bright light in a 20-foot radius and gain resistance to necrotic damage. But the real kicker is that you roll an additional Hemocraft die when putting down the undead. Similar in concept to the Paladin using their smites, but you can keep yours going all day long, making you much more versatile on long adventuring days and an absolute nightmare for the guest list of the Monster Mash. You also become a blood curse specialist, letting you manipulate your enemies whether or not they actually have blood. This gives you one additional use of your blood maledict and now actually works on the thing you hate, which is like in your name and everything. It'd be weird if you were bad at ghost hunting and still called yourself a ghost hunter, right? I mean, that'd be weird and stupid, huh? At 5th level, we get an extra attack, always cool, and our Hemocraft die bumps up to a d6. But at 6th level, we get another use of your Blood Maledict and our Brand of Castigation. When you hit a creature with your Crimson Right weapon, you can send them a little bit of that bad blood magic and sear a brand right into their skin. Perfect for hunters, as this brand always lets you know where the creature is located as long as they're on the same plane, and each time they deal damage to you or an ally within 5 feet, they take psychic damage equal to your Hemocraft modifier. Your brand is just on there too until you decide to get rid of it, use it on another creature, or it's dispelled with Dispel Magic. Just really ruining Casper's night out. But it's 7th level where we become the Casper? Yeah, not only do we get another option to our Crimson Right, somehow killing all those dead things has let us tap into their phantasmal form with Aether Walk. At the start of your turn, you can essentially
Going ghost!
Well, yeah, actually, to move through creatures and objects as though it were difficult terrain, as well as see straight into the ethereal plane. If those spooky bastards thought they could hide from you, they had another thing coming. This feature can be used once per short rest and lasts a number of rounds equal to your Hemocraft modifier. But if you end your turn inside of a wall or the Barbarian, you are shunted out and take 1d10 force damage. Now, can you use this ability to reach into the bad guy's chest and grab their heart like a Mortal Kombat finisher? Technically, no. But at my table? Fuck yeah, you can. 9th level gets us that Grim Psychometry, which I definitely know what that means, and I'm not confused by it at all, probably, but lets you essentially use some of that sweet voodoo blood magic to recall information on weird or sad things with a chance to have a vision on what may have happened there. It's a unique ability packed with more flavor than a Snickers, but relies a little too much on your DM having fleshed out every spooky circumstance to be really that useful. At 10th level, you undergo the Dark Augmentation, letting you juice up your own blood for some permanent buffs. This increases your movement speed by 5 feet and gives you a bonus to strength, dex, and con saves equal to your Hemocraft mod, because nothing hits better in a tight spot than a little bit of that gym candy. 11th level lets us buff up our Brand of Castigation with the Brand of Sundering. Now any ghostly creature with the incorporeal movement trait can no longer move through creatures or objects when under the effect of your brand. But on top of that, you once again get to add another Hemocraft die when attacking that creature. Combining that with your Right of the Dawn ability gives you 3 Hemocraft die, which at this point is a d8 on top of the regular weapon attack. As long as you've got these active on some undead baddies, you're basically putting down the same damage as a Paladin Smite on every single attack without using a spell slot or very many resources. It's a strong combo and makes for some absolutely nasty ghost hunting. 13th level gets us a 4th use of our Blood Maledict and the Brand of Tethering. Now, not only has the psychic damage from your Brand of Castigation doubled, but a branded creature can no longer take the dash action and must pass a wisdom save to teleport or plane shift, on top of taking 4d6 damage. A free debuff to an enemy's dash is already good, but combining the brands of Tethering, Sundering, and Castigation together, and you've essentially created the ultimate cage match.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me!
At 14th level, our souls become as hard as our will, because we're totally ambivalent to the light and the dark. Nothing can enter our cold dead. I said stop it, for f***'s sake! Jeez! Fine! We also gain another Crimson Rite option, and we can choose between Necrotic, Psychic, or Thunder damage. Jerks. But it's 15th level where we get our subclass exclusive Blood Curse of the Exorcist. This Blood Curse taps into that primal urge to shut down any phantom in a tri-state area by canceling any charmed, frightened, or possessed effect on a creature you can see as a bonus action. And as with all Blood Curses, you can amplify this ability for an additional effect, in this case forcing the creature that cursed your target to take 3d6 psychic damage and succeed a wisdom save or be stunned until the end of your turn. Imagine if they had had this in the Exorcist movie. How short would that have been?
Your mother sucks cocks in hell.
You know, I'm starting to get why you hate ghosts.
Suck on this.
Uh-oh.
At 17th level, we get one more use of our Blood Maledict, and our Hemograph die caps off at a d10. But it's 18th level where we get the Right Revival. No, the Right Revival. Everyone knows the Right Revival is Credit's Clearwater kind. Now, if you happen to get knocked out with one of your Crimson Rites active, you can turn the right off and drop to 1 hit point instead. Calling upon that blood magic is a great option for long-term sustainability, but just try to do enough damage where getting knocked out isn't an issue. And finally, at 20th level, we become a Sanguine Master. Now, once per turn, where we would roll a Hemocraft die, we roll 2 instead, taking the number we prefer. This can be used to take less damage to start the Crimson Rite or add more damage to a Crimson Rite attack. Additionally, anytime we score a critical hit, we get back 1 expended use of our Blood Maledict feature. Now that's what I call a capstone. So is picking the Ghost Slayer in your blood? Well, it is a natural choice for the ultimate Blood Hunter experience. While I love the Lycan Blood Hunter a lot, the way that subclass is tailored kind of forces you to play up close and personal to make the most out of your abilities. And that's not an issue with this subclass. Whether you're right in the mix or bloodbending from afar, the Ghost Slayer can still slay all day. Adding in the additional Blood Maledict use, your Brand and Rite abilities, as well as your all-around versatility, makes for an incredible ability-based fighter that holds its own against 5e's main martial classes. Multiclassing is also a breeze, crossing well with rogues, barbarians, fighter, hell even rangers look good with a little bit of Blood Hunter flair. Can you imagine pairing this with a Totem Barbarian for never-ending bloodletting? Or dare I say, the Gloomstalker? I love this subclass and wish there were more like it in the regular 5e roster. I know the Blood Hunter is technically not an official class, but it outpaces so many in utility, flavor, and fun, it's just hard not to count it in anyway. This guy just rocks, man. Combine a little bit of The Witcher with a little bit of Bloodborne and just have fun with your big stupid hats. So, if your hatred for the undead literally makes your blood boil, your sheer presence can somehow make a ghost turn so white they look like they've seen a ghost, and you regularly make sport over dispatching those who've made their way back to the land of the living without an invite like an unhinged graveyard bouncer, guess what? You might be a Ghost Slayer. Hey everyone, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. And please, don't forget to subscribe down below, it really helps me out. Right now the channel is growing okay, but you have no idea how far a like, a comment, or a subscription goes towards pushing us in the algorithm. So that's all for now, I hope you have an excellent day, and see you in the next one.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the game.
We're back. Yay.
We're back. Everybody, we have a very special guest with us today. I assume you already recognize him, but just in case you don't, this is Luke Gygax, creator of the world Okarim. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did. Yep, absolutely.
He is an army
Amber.
retiree. Thank you. And the son of Gary Gygax, which obviously everyone should know already. And if you don't, go to the interwebs because that has all the information you need.
Yes.
So
and some you don't too.
Some you don't.
Yeah.
All of them are rumors, I'm sure.
Mostly stuff we don't need, actually, but
yeah,
No, that's true. It's true. There's a lot of weird stuff out there.
cats.
so if you're just joining us, we are a tabletop talk show and podcast brought to you by Dungeon Studios. We go beyond live play and dive deep into every topic from session zeros to campaign heroes. We stream live and interact with our chat every Monday evening. Well, I guess it depends where you're at. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. New Zealand time on our Facebook page. So with all that aside,
wait, Amber, daylight savings. Our 2 p.m. time has shifted now to 3 p.m.
Is it 3 p.m.? I was going to say it was 1 p.m.
Yeah.
I was totally wrong.
I'm going to change this now. 3 p.m. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
at least for the next 6 months or however long daylight savings goes. How do I
It may be gone here soon. It may be gone here soon. They're talking about it. It may be over in the United States.
I
It may
think
be
I've
like
been-
Pluto. And we used to be a planet, and now it's not.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Now it's
folks.
just a TV station, right?
That's right. Yeah, I watch it all the time.
That's TV
I
station.
forgot about that. All right, Luke. So I would say tell us about yourself, but I feel like the internet has told us everything.
Yeah, it's an open-ended question. There's a lot to unpack there. So
Well, no, wait. I'll stop. I'll go this way. When anybody comes on the game, we allow you to promote anything you need to promote first. So how about what do you have to promote?
What do I have to promote? Well, on BackerKit, which and I don't have the link handy, which I should. Jeez.
You know what? By the time this goes, we'll have the link and
we'll have
it'll be in
more
the
on there
thing
for you. Don't worry about
Due
it.
to the miracle of pre-recording and the internet, we'll have that. So the third installment of the Oculus of Sun Ra, the Fadish and Tufi, we kickstarted that, and I've got my sample right here.
Look at how nice and shiny that is.
I know it's so shiny you can't see it, but it's amazing artwork. All three covers were done by the same guy, Michael Sirigo. So if you want to see them, they're great. Beautiful. Yeah, that's the second one, and then the first one. He just did an amazing job. He's a Greek artist, Michael Sirigos. So if you're looking for somebody, the art of Michael Sirigos, Syrigos. Very, very good guy, easy to work with. And I love the covers that he did for us. So.
I saw on your Facebook page, you had just finished reading your edits.
Yes.
And I snuck my logo in there and I'm like, that's the hardest part, man. Oh, I hate that part.
Yep. Yeah, you got it.
Looking great.
You got to look through it and do that. So that's the big thing that's coming out. Other than that, coming up shortly in the works here at the end of this year in early 2024, there's a few things. The timing's not perfect yet, but I'm going to be releasing or kickstarting a diesel punk genre for everyday heroes called Strange and Grim.
That's what it was.
Yep, and that's with my co-author for these as well, Matt Everhart. He really loves that genre, and he's been working on this for 6 or 7 years. And he talked to me about it a few years ago, and I said, well, let's dig into it. And let's change it, or let's polish it up. Let's find a home for it. And instead of trying to create a whole new rule set, Everyday Heroes, the guys at Evil Genius Games, were kind enough to. We were their first third-party licensee, and we just got to, get it done. We were so far ahead of them. They were doing modern, guns and Escape from New York and Commando and things like that. These movie genres and Pacific Rim and things of that nature. They didn't have a magic system yet, so we kind of worked hand in glove with them and their designers to come up with a really cool magic system. And we're just kind of play testing that through and making sure it's ready.
Can I ask a
hopefully
question?
The end of the year. Yeah, sure. No questions. I don't take any questions.
This magic system, I'm going to ask, is it a Vancian magic system?
It's not a Vancian magic system. So I love Vancian magic system. I think it creates much more a tactical play because you have to you have to go into a planning phase, right? You have to go, okay, what is the scenario we're going into? What's the information that I have in front of me? What do I anticipate doing? Right. I should probably take a step back. For those of you who are less familiar with the history of Dungeons and Dragons, when the game was first created, a magic user or cleric or any spellcaster would have to memorize what specific spells they were taking on the adventure. So you might have 3 first level spells. You couldn't just say, well, I've prepared these 5 spells and I'll use them how I want. Right. You have to say spell number 1 is magic missile. Spell number 2 is read magic. Spell number 3 is ventriloquism, whatever it was, right? Yeah. And you were stuck with it. That's it. That's what you had
till the end of time.
Yep. And if you wanted to change those spells, you would have to, in modern terms, take a long rest and then study 15 minutes for every level of spell that you were studying. So if you were 3 first level spells, that's 45 minutes of studying to trap the spell in your mind. Yeah. And that came from an author named Jack Vance. And I believe it was, oh geez, how am I forgetting this? Not Planet of Adventure. He did that. It's It had the
Yeah, I'm thinking of it too. Oh my
it's a
God.
collection of short stories. Had Kugel the Clever. How could I forget this, guys? This is terrible.
Oh, no.
Me too. I'm with you.
The Dying Earth. Dying Earth.
There you go.
I think it came out of Dying. I believe it came out of Dying Earth. So
You've saved yourself, sir.
that was a tough one. Yeah. So Vancian magic system, you had to go into a plan and be able to adapt spells.
Right.
Maybe you anticipated something that was coming,
Right.
and you're like, that didn't work the way I expected it to. I thought I was going to have to dig through something, so I took I took a dig spell, right? I thought I was going to have to dig through. It turned out where that wasn't useful. But could I dig out the ceiling above something and drop stalactites on someone's head, and then it would become like an area of effect weapon?
Right.
Could I do rock to mud and make it really soupy in front of me, and so this big giant bronze golem can't get to me, and I can escape, right? So that would you had to be a little bit more creative with the spells that you were stuck with. So I think it made you be more use ingenuity.
Right.
But it's just a different style.
Outside of the box thinking.
Right.
Right. But is one style better than the other? I would say no.
Mhm.
I would say it's
Right.
what your group of people enjoy playing, what brings you guys and girls, brings your group together is
Mhm.
what's important. As long as you're all having fun,
Right.
there's no wrong
Absolutely.
to play D&D, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So going
Very
back
true,
to
very
that,
true.
so it is a Vancian style
It's
magic
not.
system.
It's not.
It's not. Sorry.
It's not.
That's
It's
It's
not.
not. It is not. Yeah.
It's not.
That's
Okay.
That's old school. That's
Got
it's
it.
a little so now there is an element of gamers who really enjoy that old school feel, and I think Kelsey Dion with Shadow Dark really showed that very, very well. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Shadow Dark, but she just had an amazingly successful
Yeah, we've been talking
Kickstarter.
about it on the
great.
show in the beginning. Yeah, it's amazing that the way they went back to old school, even the artwork, the black and white
Yes.
artwork, and then to make it, you can slide 5e characters right in and out of the game. It's just
Wow.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I'm
brilliant.
taking the Oculus of Senra Ba series, these three,
Okay.
and porting them over into Shadow Dark because Kelsey comes to GaryCon, which is a convention that I throw every March, and she's been coming for years. And so I knew her in passing that she had a massively successful Kickstarter. I was like, oh wow, congratulations! It's awesome. And I looked at Shadow Dark and I was like, this is actually really cool. And I thought, you know what? Honestly, my style of play that I grew up with is very close to a Shadow Dark, right? It's
Right,
much more in
right.
line with kind of the roots of where I came from.
Right.
And it feels more natural to me. So I'm looking forward to working that. I'm doing it with a gentleman named Sursa Victory, who she recommended as the best person who would be who is very familiar with it. So, and what a great person he is.
That's
Wonderful
very
to
cool.
work with.
And Amber, that's what inspired me to write a basement full of arcane secrets for 5e was that whole Shadow Dark and
Okay.
making a really dark 5e adventure where you can go in
Right.
and you still might die. I really want to be able to do it, you know?
Right.
So look, I have another question. Did you growing up? Did you play D&D with your dad?
Of course.
Of course
yeah.
you did. What was that like? I mean, do you have any anecdotes or anything like that you can share, or any memories that?
Well, sure. I mean, the first game I remember playing was it had to be an early version of the Village of Hamlet, which was a module T1, the Village of Hamlet, that was
Right.
the first in the series that took you to the Temple of Elemental Evil.
Right. Matthew Colville
So-
talks about it a lot.
Yeah, Matt Koval's a great guy. I really like Matt. He's a super nerd, by the way. Boy, does he have knowledge for days. That guy's like you might expect it from Matt Colville, right? I mean, that
Right.
guy,
He seems like an encyclopedia.
he does, and he is. But what a nice guy. I don't
Yeah.
know him very well, but he's just down in Santa Ana, and he was kind enough to invite me to his studio prior to COVID, and he came and he played some games with me, and I DM'd for him and stuff. Great guy, really nice. Love to. In fact, I need to call him and and bug him and be
This
like,
is your reminder.
let's get together and do something.
Right.
Really nice guy. I really enjoyed his company. But another guy who you wouldn't expect to be a super nerd, but has that level of like Matt Colville nerdness is Joe Manganiello. That dude is like a huge nerd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge nerd. I mean,
I'm
I was
certain of
shocked.
it.
Yeah, I
It
was shocked.
honestly blows my mind. I tell everybody all the time when it comes to Joe Manganiello, I follow him. I love the fact that he is a D&D nerd, and I feel like it ekes out of him. You can tell how much knowledge he has, but I actually follow him because of his dog.
Oh, Bubbles?
Because we're dog people. So
She's a demon though. She's a demon. I went up and was like, "Hey, Joe," and I touched him on the shoulder, and she's like, "Ah!" Like tried to take
really?
my hand off. Yeah. Oh no.
but that's his baby.
Yeah. I think she's a rescue, and so she may have had some maltreatment
issue, yeah.
in the past. So she loves Joe, but she's
Yeah.
he calls her his demon familiar. So yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, but no, he goes everywhere with her, and yeah, she's great. She's just very wary of other people. So you have to work your way into the good graces of Bubbles to get there. But back to your question. So the first game I played, I was probably 4, I think. I couldn't read, but I wanted to be there, right? I wanted to play. And so my dad let me be a man-at-arms. So back in the old school days, not everyone was like a superhero at first level. You were certainly better than an average person, right? You'd made it to that level of being first level, so you were an exception, but you were still very vulnerable, right? Mm-hmm. And the power, the starting points of characters was not as high as maybe today what we'd expect. If you're a magic user, you had that one spell that you rolled randomly for on some charts, and that was it. You had that one spell and maybe a dagger or some darts that you could throw, and 1 to 4 hit points.
How different was this?
Wow.
It's like I played in the red. I played the red set. The red. I was living in Papua.
Oh, basic D&D.
Yeah, basic D&D.
Yeah,
and then
so that was
after that.
So Man-at-Arms. Wait, Man-at-Arms was just something he made up. It's like you're going to be a Man-at-Arms.
A man. No. That was like a sellsword, a mercenary.
Okay, a mercenary.
So they called those man-at-arms. So you were man-at-arms. That's kind of an old term, like it's a medieval term. You're someone's man-at-arms. You were probably a hired gun, a gunslinger in the Wild West.
But it was like class, is what you're saying. It was like a character.
What? No, it was basically a zero level fighter that you would bring with you to be like a meat shield.
Mm-hmm.
When you went into the dungeon, right? Yeah. So dungeon was a dangerous place. More people rolling, more dice rolling to hit things is better, right?
Right.
So I was a man-at-arms, and they just thought I was a regular man-at-arms. But my dad told me, no, you're really a ranger, and you work for the druid in the woods. You're watching these guys to make sure they're not evil and trying to develop the moat house back into a forest where evil would be. So you got to just like watch out and don't trust him too much or whatever. And of course, that character, I ended up playing him all through. Well, I played him in spurts because as a kid, we'd start playing probably after dinner, which might be 6:30 or 7. At 8:30, my mom would come and say,
"Time for bed.
It's bedtime." I'd be like, "No, because so bad as a comment. Let me just finish this comment, please." And then I would like creep up the stairs and I would listen, what was going on until I got tired and I'd go to sleep. But yeah, I played him.
Do you have a special room in your house for playing D&D? Like,
No, we were desperately poor. My dad was a shoe repairman, so he cobbled shoes in the basement of our tiny rented home. There was 7 of us in the family. I have 5 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And it was a little tiny place. I don't know how we all fit in there.
I read somewhere that you guys all know the smell of Rizzo from like printing stuff in the house. Is that true too?
Well, we would the stuff would be printed by a small printing company in the area, and then the component parts would be sent to us because it's more expensive to put them together. Right. So I was so young, I didn't have to do much of that, but my older brothers and sisters had to put together things like old the Dungeon board game and things like that. They would assemble the component parts, or the wood box D&D sets. They'd put the booklets in, dice or chits or whatever needed to go in there, and then put a sticker on it and then send it off.
Right. So Josh, go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question, but before we get too far away from the fact that you were 4 when you started playing, because I get a lot of questions and I get a lot of, I see a lot of folks talking about how old their kids need to be when they introduce them to D&D, especially now that it's kind of like growing and, you know, adults are picking it up again. And then now they want to introduce their kids to it. And I'm finding that most people nowadays are waiting until their kids are like 11, 12, like in their teens. And I introduced my son to it when he was 8, but even then I feel like we could have started sooner. And so I'm curious, because you started at 4, did you do the same thing with your kids? Did you start that young and you modify
I did.
it, or
I did. So Miriam is my eldest daughter here in the house. She's 16. And probably when she was 4 or 5, I started her playing board games. But we would also, she liked to play with, a Spider-Man doll or a Transformer doll, whatever it was.
Mhm.
So I would get those out on occasion and throw some pillows off the couch or whatever it was, and then say, okay, and we'd move one around here, or teddy bear, whatever, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Something, and then just take some dice and be like, okay, what is your action figure or teddy bear? What are their powers? Oh, I can shoot laser eyes. Great. Okay, cool.
That's
so
amazing.
On a 6, or on a 5 or a 6, you hit there, and then my guy can do, like stomps the ground and make a earthquake. You just whatever. You make some stuff up, make a few rules, and shake the dice and have some fun. So,
Right.
but I did that on occasion. Not as much as I wanted to. I was busy. I was in the Army, so I was gone a lot. But she certainly played. Heck, even if it was Hi Ho Cheerio or something like that, we played games, right?
Yeah.
We played games. I taught her a game called Stone Age before she could read the cards, and I would
That's
just read them
amazing.
for her. And my wife got pretty mad at me because I wouldn't let her win. I made her follow the rules, and so she would get upset and she would cry. But guess what?
You're a
Now
mean dad.
I was a bad dad, but she beats me.
Mhm.
She
Yeah.
beats me in like 4 out of 5 games or more.
Yeah.
She is really good at gaming. She can crush me in just about every single game. So she's
Wow.
I
very
love that.
yeah. No,
All right, wait,
she's-
back to being a kid. Now,
Yeah.
there's a story that your sister named the game.
Mhm. That was
Um,
Cindy, my youngest,
right?
the
Now-
youngest of the girls.
So that is true, but were there other names kicked around the house that people were talking about that, like,
Yeah, I don't remember what they were. But
Yeah, okay.
my dad made a list with 4 or 5 names on this column, 4 or 5 names on this column, and it was kind of
Okay.
like mix and match, right? And basically, I think, was it Fritz Leiber and Gardner Fox, one of those guys, coined the term sword and sorcery for these like pulpy,
Right.
books, right? So my dad was a huge fan of those guys, so he thought sword and sorcery. He wanted that alliteration, I believe, was the term. So,
yeah,
you know,
it
he
makes
was-
sense. It does make sense. Yeah, they were
Right,
all
so
doing
then-
that in that time period.
Right, and so Dungeons and Dragons, kind of.
Yeah.
That's the one my sister said, that one sounds the best. What the other ones were, I couldn't tell you.
Okay, they're just dealing them out.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's 4 years older than me, so that she was 8.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
where were you when your dad published this book?
Role playing mastery. Gosh, that was the mid 80s, I think. That was about 84 or something.
86,
Something
I think. I think it's
86. Okay, so I was
Well, don't forget, he was at the beginning of the publishing. Russell, you were at the end of it.
Oh, yeah,
it was
so it was probably 85.
probably that time.
so
Yeah.
that was actually really that was a really tumultuous time. He lost his company in 1985.
Mhm.
There was a lot going on. So that's it. We could talk about that.
Well, I was still
For
with your dad
hours.
because I have this.
Oh yeah, I've got that right over
You know
there. I've
this?
got like
I love this
three
book.
copies of them. Yeah,
We,
it
we
was
need-
great. What a
we-
wonderful game that was.
It was a great game. Do we need a VTT for playing this on nowadays? That's the thing.
100%. It would be so much easier. So my dad took a lot of flack from people saying Dungeons and Dragons isn't realistic enough, and he's like, or it isn't complex enough. He's like, well, yeah, it's we're summarizing a lot of things to get to the adventure portion of it, as opposed to going second by second in what would really
Mhm.
happen. And guess what? I hate to tell you, but if you got hit with a battle axe or something like that,
Yeah.
actually, you're probably not feeling real good. You're probably not running around doing a whole lot of
Right,
stuff. And
right.
You're not, it's not gonna. This is a bad day. You're having a bad day. You may not survive. You
Right.
get some infection in there, and you're going to be toast. So we're talking about throwing fireballs and spells, and there's elves and dwarves and stuff like that. So realism, kind of takes a back seat to that, right? That's
Right.
that's not what we're
Like,
going
where do you
But-
draw the line, right?
right, but I mean, obviously you can see the war game and historical war game roots of
Right.
Dungeons and Dragons in things like weapon speed factor, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm using a halberd and you're using a short sword, I have a much greater, it's like I'm much slower with this halberd as I bring it around, and you could
Right.
factor into initiative hey, my weapon speed factor is much more. I can close the distance and attack you first.
And in AD&D, it used to do that. You used to get modifiers to your initiative, didn't you?
Absolutely, you could if you wanted to. He never used those, by the way. He just put that in for the historic for the guys who wanted
folks.
that. Right? Yeah, he was like, no, he was just roll a 6-sider, 1, 2.
Right.
You're surprised in the beginning, right? Like 1 or 2, you're slightly surprised or totally surprised. 4, 5, 6, you're fine. Now, if you're a ranger or something like that, I think you rolled an 8-sider and so you had less of a chance, right? So certain things like that, but it wasn't as complex. Other people would use a 10-sided die because a melee round was a minute of time, right? So back then now it's 6 seconds, right?
Right.
It was a melee round, so it was a minute.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of back and forth, like an Errol Flynn movie. You're going back and forth looking for an opening, etc. Right?
Yeah.
And each segment was 6 seconds, and there was 10 segments in a round. So when you cast a spell, you'd look how many segments it was, right?
Yeah.
So you could use a 10-sided die. You'd roll your 10-sider. Oh, I got a 2. I'm throwing a 3-segment spell, so on 5 my spell goes off. And if you remember in old school, if you got wounded while you were casting a spell, that spell was destroyed and you scratched it off. It was done. It was gone. Right. No effect, and it was gone.
And you didn't get it again.
Yeah, and that's it. And also something that's gone by the wayside. Okay, so at the beginning of the round, you would go around and get declarations of action. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? I'm going to attack.
Oh gosh, I'm
going to use my bow. I'm going to cast a spell. Okay, great. What spell are you casting? I'm going to cast this spell. How many segments is it? Okay, great. And then you would roll initiative, right? And you were stuck with what you did. If you changed, you couldn't change. You could not take an action, but that was the consequence. You had to declare what's going on because it's all happening simultaneously, right?
Yes.
So you can't. And all this conversation at the table was not allowed.
I'll let metagame.
Maybe like a.
That's what I was going to ask. It sounds like because your dad was kind of pioneering through all this. Was there a lot of rules lawyering going on at the table, considering he's the one kind of coming up with the rules?
Well, I mean, I'm sure people would question something, but at the end of the day, and that's why if you look at and read the Dungeon Master's Guide and things like that, it says this is your game,
right?
Period. Right. You make this is your world. You're making the rules, and just change it, make it how you want it to work. Here are my suggestions. Right? Here's how I see it unfolding. Now, of course, as a player, if somebody's being arbitrary or doing some crazy things that don't make sense, you vote with your feet, right? And you just don't go back.
Yeah.
So as a game master, you want to make your players feel engaged. I think a sense of tension has to be there. Right, which can be more difficult in some of the modern versions of Dungeons and Dragons, in my opinion.
Right.
And that's maybe why we're seeing things like Dungeon Crawl Classics or Shadow Dark or OSE rise up a bit, is because people like not being super powerful and just being, hey man, like I'm in this adventure, but I'm just a guy, Well,
I was reading something about the fear of death is part of the game. It was part of the game then, and that part is kind of left the game a lot.
Well, that's we talk a lot about on this show. We call it generational gaming, but I feel like this newer generation, they need to kind of go through this beginning phase of learning D&D to finally wrap their brain around the fact that like it's okay to die, it's okay to fail, it's okay to have this dark setting that I don't know. I feel like right now it's kind of in its infancy again. And people are still figuring it out. I don't know.
I wonder if the template part of it.
Yeah, every generation is going to have to figure it out on their own in a way.
It's cyclical, right?
Yeah,
right.
Just like history, you kind of make the same mistakes.
And we see it in fashion.
Bell bottoms are back.
Yeah, bell bottoms are back. Exactly.
Fashion. It's like fashion. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of cyclical history. 83, 84, when I had to go buy Dungeons, when I went to buy Dungeons and Dragons stuff, I had to go to the toy store and I had to ask the guy, and he had to pull the box out from underneath the cabinet because it was like secret. What was it like? What was it like being a Gygax during that whole satanic, Dungeons and Dragons? And see, what was it like being you then?
Yeah, so it's very interesting because I was like 3rd or 4th grade probably when this.
Yeah, because I was just into middle school, just starting to play.
Same. Yeah, and I remember they hired Dr. Joyce Brothers, if you remember that name.
Yeah.
Dr. Joyce Brothers came out to our house in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin.
Oh my
spent
God.
so that was pretty cool. Somewhere there's a picture of me and Dr. Joyce Brothers. I'm pretty short and pretty round, but yeah. So she came out and essentially they hired her to be, an expert witness, or more or less, somebody who had some gravitas in the field of psychology, to say, D&D wasn't evil and had a lot of benefits. And so that was what they were saying. So the Satanic Panic essentially came out of a gentleman named John Dallas Egbert, something like James Dallas Egbert.
I know there's a Dallas in there.
Yeah, his middle name, Dallas Egbert. I got it. I think it was like either James or John up front. So he was a prodigy. He was a young man at like the age of 15. He was in college, and he was, like second or third year, something ridiculous like that. So he was a genius, and he liked playing Dungeons and Dragons. No surprise, he's an early adopter, is an intelligent, imaginative person. Apparently,
Tom Hanks plays in the movie, right?
Pretty much in Monsters and Mazes. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't make that connection.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what it's kind of based on, that. And so that was blown up into, oh my God, because he's playing Dungeons and Dragons, and they played in the steam tunnels. I don't know if this is true or not. And then perhaps he was abducted by a satanic coven that sacrificed him or whatever. And that's why he's disappeared. Right. Right. Yeah. But that's what, remember, there was no internet. There was all these crazy rumors about stuff. There wasn't an easy way to look
validate
things up
the
or whatever.
information.
Yeah, there was no Snopes to say this is BS, right? So you couldn't do that. And so this got a lot of traction. And there was televangelists, as there are today, but they were looking for something to seize onto and say, oh yeah, this is evil. Look, Satan's at work today, and you can see the cover. Look at this demon guy. It's the Dungeon Master's Guide, if you remember that, has an Ifrit on it in the City of Brass, or and it's holding like a scantily clad lady, because it's 1979, right? So this is how it was done. So this there was a lot of fervor over this. Of course, today we know that's nonsense, right?
Right.
And I would imagine if I'm 20 years old, I would poo-poo this. Was this even a thing?
Yeah.
It was a thing. We got death threats.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering what it was like for you guys.
By our house slowly, and it made my mom paranoid. We built a 6-foot cyclone fence around there. We had 6 Malamute husky dogs that we'd let it run every night. Wow. We had motion sensors in the house, guns everywhere. My dad carried a gun. His driver carried a gun. He bought a flak vest, bulletproof vest. Because,
it's really crazy what happens. Black Sabbath got accused by Satanists. So Satanists were like putting curses on them too. So it was like the good guys and the bad guys were all after them at the same time. Like it's nuts. Like it's crazy.
It was very strange, and it felt real, and it was very anxiety producing. But from a business standpoint, it was great because it gave just everybody was talking about it.
Right.
And this is a game that sure, it appeals. I like it as an adult. I think everybody can enjoy it, but it really seems to be magical.
I was gonna say that was kind of like the first crazy media thing that became a commercial thing. That's like common now to create a media buzz like that. But that was insane. I'm so sorry you had to live through that, and your family had to go through that.
Yeah,
please take it. I take it.
How long was it like that before you finally felt safe to like remove the cyclone fence? And
we never did. I mean, we moved to a different house later.
Okay,
but I mean, it was for a couple of years, for sure. Okay. And there's always crazies out there. It's, I mean, gosh, if you talk to gamers of, in my age range, how many of them had their collections taken and thrown in the dump because their parents thought they were saving.
Right.
Yeah. This is an evil influence.
Yeah.
Russell, baby, Russell.
Yeah, no, yeah. I grew up like that. My mom would not let me watch Scooby-Doo, which I could not fathom because they weren't even really monsters. They were people.
And the irony.
There's a
irony that it came out just like Scooby-Doo.
I don't
They-
get it.
They had some great makeup people in those Scooby-Doo cartoons because they would pull the mask off and you'd see, oh, it's Old Man Withers.
And it just
What the
comes
heck is
off
that?
altogether.
Yeah, it's like he was like a, this whatever,
Out of
shambling mound or something.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, they had some
Oh my
great special
gosh.
effects. But
That's crazy.
yeah, no, it was nuts. And of course, yeah, I mean, other people saw through it. It just depends. There was a wide array, but it was a great publicity. It helped explode sales, and what's better to a teenage kid
Oh yeah.
than doing the forbidden, right?
Oh yeah.
And what was this dangerous thing that they were doing?
Right.
Reading books and hanging out with their friends.
And doing some
Collaborating.
math. Let's
Yeah.
measure. Let's
Right.
pile dice.
Let's figure out some puzzles.
Learning
while we're
some
staying at home,
Teamwork
drinking soda and eating
skills.
chips. Yeah, and let's so
That's so
work on our
Educating
storytelling
themselves,
and creative
history.
abilities. Right.
What's funny is even today, depending on who I'm talking to, I can tell just by their age range that I might get that type of reaction even today because
Yeah.
it's never been corrected in their mind.
Right.
And I have to go through the history of everything and explain. It's so wild.
Well, what's even more ironic is that we were Jehovah's Witnesses, which is sort of a niche branch of Protestant Christianity. So that's what I was raised as, and my dad was in the congregation as well as my mom and our whole family. So we'd go to, we'd go to worship for like at least 2 hours on Sunday. We'd go on door to door. We'd do Bible studies. So we're very,
Wow.
very religious.
Right.
And for them to say that, and of course, the Jehovah's Witnesses still think it's from the devil.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
So
It's
crazy.
all right.
It's nuts.
Russell, I know you have some more questions.
Oh,
I know
I've
you
got
do.
thousands.
Go for one of yours. Go for one of yours. Go ahead. Go.
I'm so ingrained in listening now. So okay.
Well,
While you're looking for one, I want to
Okay.
say thank you, Luke. I was watching Professor Dungeon Master, and he was talking about that game that the license went back to the old company that originally had your dad's game license, and he
Oh.
mentions you specifically stepping up for the trust and making sure everything sort of gets in the right place. So thank you for
Yes.
doing that.
Yeah,
And
that's a crazy story. That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the highlights. I mean,
Okay.
there's it's very once over the world, and so my mom and dad divorced in about 1983. They separated. It took a long time for the divorce to go through. It's the whole rags to riches stuff, and it's
right.
it was crazy times. My mom and dad knew each other since they were like 8 years old, right? My dad was always a black sheep. We were desperately poor before he created Dungeons and Dragons. Hand-me-down clothes, food stamps. My mom would garden for subsistence. We were dirt poor.
Wow.
And then my dad became quite famous and made a fair amount of money at the time. And then he lost everything. And when he lost his company, all the IP belonged to the company, not
Right.
him personally. A lot of reasons. I think if you want a good synopsis of it that's on Audible and an easy read, there's a book called Empire of Imagination by my friend Michael Whitwer that will catch you up very rapidly to it. But it's a tragic story. He started the company. Everyone thought Dungeons and Dragons was a dumb idea. Avalon Hill, Guidon Games. They said, Gary, we know you're known in this small niche wargaming community, but this is crazy. It's kid stuff. No one wants to play make believe, and we're serious wargamers about historical war. Right? So
They were
super wrong, right? They were super duper wrong. But they told him, no, we're dirt poor. How is he going to do this? His good friend, who was a machinist in the small town of Lake Geneva, took a loan against his life insurance policy to front the money.
Wow.
A couple $1,000. I think it was either $1,000 or $2,000, right? Back in 1973. And they finally got everything together and published D&D in 1974. The guy's name was Don K. So if you see a G and a K on the old books, that's for Gygax and K, Tactical Studies Rules, right? That's the company.
Right.
TSR.
Yeah, right. But it was Tactical Studies Rules at that point.
Right.
Don K died of a heart attack at 36 years old in 1975, I believe.
All right.
Out of the blue.
Right.
And his wife said, nope, want nothing to do with it. Get this crap out of my house and pay me his shares. My dad had no money. He had to go outside and get some outside investors, right, who came into the company. those were Brian and Kevin Bloom, and I think they owned slightly more than my dad did, just because Don
Right.
Kay did, and that's the way it worked out. Fast forward down the road, a lot of mismanagement, et cetera, et cetera. Good story. So please, I'm teasing you. I'm not gonna give it all away.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a great teaser.
And-
You're selling
yeah.
something else. Push it,
And then,
push it.
yeah, I don't get any money from it, so it's just a good story.
No,
And
no.
then in 1985, he basically was brought into a board meeting and he ended up getting fired because they had sold their stock to somebody else, and they said, "Hey, we don't need you anymore. See you later." And he was on the outside, and he spent all of his money trying to get proof that was an illegal transaction,
Right.
but he lost. And that was
Yeah.
that. So he was basically outside. And then Dangerous Journeys came around, which is the book that you held up, Mythos Magic from Dangerous
Yeah.
Journeys, which is a system you've been working on. The first series that we developed, by the way, was Unhallowed. It was basically a Call of Cthulhu or horror genre, but he knew that horror was less popular than fantasy. So Mythos was the first one being published by Game Designers Workshop, the second biggest group at the time, right? The lady who bought TSR at that time waited until they were all printed and just ready to roll out. And then she filed a lawsuit saying, "You thought of that while you were working at TSR, so therefore all of it belongs to us."
Oh,
All of GDW's
Goodness.
money
By
was
that-
tied up in print.
By that
Right, so they have
rationale, you
warehouses
also
full of
own my
stuff.
shit as well, since I while I was working.
So they bankrupted Game Designers Workshop, and my dad had to settle and sell them the rights to that, and it belongs to Hasbro now and is buried and will never be seen, right? So it's a tragic story. My dad has a horrible, tragic story.
yeah.
But and that was 1993. He was really, again, destitute and poor and had nothing, and really found himself in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I think we got to this because you talked about Castle Troll Lord Games and Castle.
Right.
So, and Castle Zagging, which is very similar to his home campaign, Castle Greyhawk, which was never published. But
Right.
So essentially, he recovered from that. He made friends with Steve Chenault and some other people that he was publishing, and they thought, "Hey, Gary, why don't we create this system what's a system that you're happy publishing in? 3rd edition D&D." My dad didn't care for that. He didn't feel comfortable with that. So they made up a game called Castles and Crusades, which has a lot of flavor of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. However, it has something called a siege engine system, where you do like difficulty ratings and make rolls against a difficulty rating, kind of similar to this game called 5th edition, right? But it preceded it by a lot of years. Okay,
Yeah.
so my dad helped them write Castles and Crusades and came up with the siege engine system with them, which then Mike Merles, borrowed from, which is, I mean, that's what we do, right? Mike Merles is a friend of mine. I love Mike Merles, great guy, super nice guy, love him. It comes to Gary Con, huge supporter, huge friend. But I think if he didn't, he came up with the same idea. But it seems like they may have been informed or influenced or inspired by the siege engine system. So when my father passed away, he'd remarried, and his widow said, "There's no will, or the will leaves me everything. Sorry, guys, there's nothing for any of you, and all of his IP belongs to me." She started making some deals with a guy, a producer in Hollywood, a very famous guy who did X-Men and Transformers and a few things like that. A guy named Tom DeSanto, who's also a real gentleman. He talked to me because he wanted the whole family to be united in this. And it turns out, a few years down the road, there was a will, and he discovered it, and he shared that with me. And what she was saying was not actually the case. So it took me 3.5 years of litigation and a lot of money to get the probate opened up. And I'm very happy to say that the judge agreed with what we'd said and said, "Hey, we believe this will is valid." The judge agreed with us. And so at this point, the estate of E. Gary Gygax owns all of his IP and those sorts of things. And his inheritors are all of my brothers and sisters. And so, just waiting for that to kind of fold out. That was in April this year, and it takes a little while to have all those things unfold. But since the IP is in the estate, there's a lawyer who's managing the estate at this point. A nice guy that very good to work with, and
That's what's my good man. Next question. You got someone good? That's the
Yeah,
most
no,
important
he's
thing that
Yeah.
I want
great
to know who it
neutral guy.
is. Cool.
Yeah,
Good,
no,
good,
but-
good, good, good,
But
good.
yes, Steve Cook
Good,
is the
good.
guy's name. Very, very good guy, and he wants to do what's right for the estate, which is bring out some things and make money for the estate to take care of bills and obligations.
Right,
that
right.
are for the estate.
And what's due
Right.
to the estate, just like all these other
Yeah.
people that get sort of squashed, creators
Yeah.
of things. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's so common, unfortunately, that
Yeah.
creative people are not oftentimes. Well, they don't expect their creation to explode, right?
Right.
And so you haven't prepared for that eventuality. Everyone was telling him this isn't going to work. My dad thought it would sell 10,000 copies. He's like, this is going to be huge. 10,000 copies. It sold a couple more than that.
10 million copies.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It sold a lot, right? And it was like $500 million or whatever in D&D last year. So that's great. Again, my family sees none of that.
Yeah, I know. That's
that's
wild.
the breaks. But I have a wonderful legacy, which I'm very proud of. But
Right.
yeah, the money part, unfortunately, is not ours. But yeah, so the great news is my dad, prior to his passing, he told me, "Hey, I have Castle Zagig, all of my stuff. I have these things that I want done." And he said, do your best to help and get these things out. And of course, I was like a captain in the Army. I was in the middle of my career. So it was a little harder for me to do that. But I said, yes, I remember that, Dad. And so I feel very good.
And you get to close the circle.
Get to close that
circle.
Exactly. And so it's been 15 years. He's been gone 15 years. And so, but I get to reach out and I'm friends with, these people. Jeff Tellanian was the guy that he knew he was dying, right? He knew he wasn't going to be there for it. So he basically fed a guy named, Jeff Tellanian. He was just a young man at that time. And my dad recognized his talent. And he said, hey, you should be the lead here. I'm going to give you my overall picture, right? So Jeff Tellanian is in charge of Northwind Adventures. That's his company. And he makes Hyperborea, which is a retro clone game. Very good. And so, he's got his own thing going now. But fortunately, Troll Lord Games still had, they blew the dust off of all these old files.
Right.
Probably had to how do we update this,
Yeah.
Word document from 2004 or whatever it is to today. But they were able to do that and dig it out of their archives. And so we
had
saw
old TRSR 80.
Right.
there,
Yeah.
running in the back room.
Yeah. Got them something from the Tandy Corporation. We'll fire that up. Yeah, so that's where they came from. So that's the very beginning, republishing some of the stuff that exists. But the goal is to go ahead and complete the entirety of Castle Zagig, which I think is over 17 levels. So it's a mega dungeon, right?
Wow.
With story around it, with the city of Igsburg, which is not Greyhawk. It's not the city of Greyhawk, but Igsburg, right? And with all of its characters and everything like that, flesh it out. And of course, we want to make it color,
Right.
fit,
Do the whole thing.
make it fit 5e, etc., and flesh it fully out as it deserves. So that's coming over the next 2024.
Gosh, they could do a version forever. They could do a 1E, they could do a 2E.
They could do it in
They collect them all. They collect them all. Make them
Shadow
all.
Dark
Make
would
them
be
all.
great
Luke,
for
make
that.
them all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
OSE. Why not?
Look at your shelf. You'd have to put a whole nother shelf in the back. You
Exactly.
put
I
them all
got
in there.
another bookcase.
Yeah, I
Gotta
see
go
an
just
open
for that.
spot right over there. I think we can
Exactly.
put a shelf right there.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I know Josh is asking for a viewer question, and I don't have any. Amber, do you have any viewer questions?
No, I don't. That's why I was
that-
waiting to see if there was
Okay,
going to be a
just-
question from a viewer.
Not
Not that we're live, but we had some
I have
questions
another
prior.
question. I can ask you.
Oh, Mike's question.
Mike's questions in our rapid fire round. Whenever
Okay.
you're ready, I have the rapid fire round ready for Luke.
Okay. Well, I think we have a few more minutes for
Yeah.
some other things.
But I was waiting for Russell. Had some good real D&D questions.
so
He's our pro
are
DM.
Are there any unique house rules that you remember from playing D&D at home? I mean, you kind of touched on that earlier, I guess, but I'm suppose I'm looking for something that's really specific. That
Like
Boy, I
every
don't-
time you have a drink, you got to stick your pinky up, that kind of a thing. Or...
I don't think so, but yeah,
no.
yeah. No, I mean, not that I remember. I mean, maybe there were house rules, but I'm going to let you know a secret.
it's like they were all-
I've never read the rule books all the way through.
Mm.
If I had a question, I
love
just
it.
ask my dad.
What do I do? What do I
Yeah.
have to do? Roll a die. To tell you.
Yeah,
what to
right,
do
exactly. Or
Roll a die.
and if I'm doing it, I'll look up a rule here and there, right? Or a spell or particular. But
Let me see that.
For the most part, I just make it up, right? What
Right.
flows.
Yeah. See, this is why I brought up the rules lawyering earlier, though, because I feel like that there's so much of that going on now. And I feel like we can take it from the source that it doesn't have to be that way. Like it just let it flow, and whatever works, and figure that out in the game and then move on. Like don't argue about it.
You wouldn't place the rules up there as it's sort of like a crutch in many ways. So, you're telling a story.
You're telling a story and you're collaborating with the people. But the DM or GM or whatever in the game has invested a bit more, right? And they're more informed than each player. So the players need to be able to take cues from the DM and not be disruptive of it, right? Again, if your GM is bad and they're changing stuff willy-nilly and it doesn't feel connected and you feel like you've been mistreated, then you vote with your feet, right? Or you take it to him or her at another time.
Have a communication,
Hey, hey, I noticed this. Was that on purpose? Did you forget? What is it? Because it feels wrong to me, or it's making me feel like I can't count on things, or things are not, there's not rules for the world. And I think that's important. If you're going to suspend disbelief, there needs to be a coherent way the world functions.
Right.
I think that also falls in line with generational gaming too, because I see so many people asking about, I have this issue with my DM or my party. What do I do? And it's like, okay, I have seen so many people respond that you need to communicate. And that seems to be such a hard thing that I think, again, new generation gamers are having to learn the skill to communicate with people.
So each other on their phones and
I get it. I can be conflict avoidant. I don't necessarily like conflict. However, face-to-face skills are something we have a lot more of it if you're 30 and up probably.
Right.
Whereas I know my daughter, who's 16, my wife asked her, hey, call and confirm this place is open for whatever they wanted to do on, I think it was like medical procedure of some kind, on Saturday. Make sure it's open. So she went in her room and she came out and said, yep, they're open. She checked the website. They were open for some other things, but not what they needed, right?
Yeah.
So they drove like 45 minutes there.
Yep. Wasted the time. Yeah.
And my wife was like ready to strangle her because I said, call and talk to somebody. But they didn't want to do that. That's not, they're like, oh, that's like old school, right?
Yeah.
And it is very easy, to look everything up on your phone, to use D&D. I actually really do like D&D Beyond though. So I have to say it's so easy. It makes life
okay.
so
It does make life easy, but I think the part I was saying before, that part of the math of it, you were talking about, the turns and the segments, and that part of it is taken out, and that it automatically happens for them a lot. So that's a big difference.
Yeah. That's true. It just becomes magic at the end of it, right? It's like you don't understand the
mechanics behind the scenes.
Yeah.
When that template is in front of you for the character sheet.
Just like if you crack it open to page 70 is at 75 or 76 on the old DMG that has the hit charts in there or whatever, you can kind of figure out THACO, right?
Right.
Somebody's looked at that chart and said, oh, there's a pattern to it. That's THACO. Right? 2 hit armor class 0. Sorry, I'm really...
No, it's we talked about THACO like a couple episodes ago. Maybe it just came up recently. That's so.
You always end up back there somehow.
Yeah.
So there's a pattern there, and I understand. Gameplay changes because what you're doing over and over again. Because we log hundreds of hours gaming, right? So do you want to do the same stuff over and over again? Well, no, you want something different. So let's do more role play. Let's think of this stuff. But in the beginning, it was new.
Right.
And what were you doing? Man, I'm going in this subterranean world.
Right.
Holy smoke, what's going on? There's going to be some weird creatures there. I don't know what they do. I mean, you can describe a creature to me. I wouldn't know I didn't know that this 7-foot tall green thing that's kind of real wiry and lean and hunched over with black, bushy hair and long claws and saucer-like eyes. Well, I didn't know that was a troll and I had to use fire on it. Otherwise it would regenerate, right?
Right.
You didn't know that, but now everybody knows that. That's it's a troll. I'm going to use fire against it. Okay, it regenerates. Blah blah blah. Right.
So now you just got to. We talked about this recently too. Yeah, you just got to change it up a bit so that folks aren't keen to what's coming to them.
Exactly. The sense of wonderment, the tension,
right?
All that has to be there. So back in the old days, what was cool is you didn't have a whole lot of the beginning, player, interactions with NPCs and that sort of stuff, and the storytelling, and you didn't worry about how the red dragon got in the dungeon, right?
Right.
It was
Right.
there. You're going to kill it. That's why. So, and why do they have
That's
treasure? Because
that's like
you don't care about the origin story. I just want to.
yeah, it's just the thing, right? And then you're going to go out and like, boohoo, you got treasure, and you're going to like, train up and make a castle or whatever. And
You get
that
XP
sort
for
of thing.
treasure too back then.
You did, which is
Oh,
important.
really?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Oh,
were
I
talking
bet.
about that last. We talked about that last.
I don't
time.
remember. I'm sorry.
that
That's
was it.
why. That's why it mattered who got the treasure, and that's
That's
why
right.
Yeah.
in the old days, how we would do it is for every level you had, you rolled a percentile die. You rolled a percentile dice, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it would go in rank order. Who got that? So if I'm a 10th level character, I'd roll a percentile dice 10 times, take my top score. If you're 5th level, you'd roll your percentile dice 5 times, take your top score, and that would rank the order of who gets to pick.
And you would have a
Right.
group where not
Okay.
everybody was the
Choose.
same level either. These days everyone's
Right.
usually the same level, especially with
Mhm.
Yep.
handling and so on. But yeah,
Yeah, but what a great way to level up. Like if you got killed and
Right.
you bring in a 1st level character with like a 6th or 7th level group, you have to hide in the middle and hope you don't get crushed.
That's right. That's right.
You go on an adventure, and next thing you know, you're 2nd level, 1 point away from 3rd,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
oh, there's
And then
a
because you couldn't,
there's a goblin baby. You can go and kill them for us. Oh, there's a
right?
rat.
Yeah, oh yeah, right. Yeah, they might let you out. It's like you're the apprentice. You get to do something.
Duh.
But part of the game in the old days was mapping, right? No one
Right.
maps anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But why did you map?
Well,
What was the purpose? It was a puzzle. It was a
Right.
puzzle.
right.
You were looking for
Getting
there's
out
a
of that.
space. Well, that, and
Getting
also
in
there's
and
a,
out.
there's a space over here.
Mm-hmm.
secret.
Is
door.
that a room or is it just
The
rock?
edge of the page.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
You are
like
on the
Legend
edge
of
the page.
Zelda. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was that one
Is there-
wall you could push against, and yeah.
Right. Is there something? And of course, yes, you said getting out of there is important because
Yeah.
Greyhawk had teleporters, sloping passages, one-way doors, right,
Mm.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So no one cares that a dwarf could detect sloping passages, right?
Right.
No one thinks about bringing marbles into the dungeon to set on the floor to see if they roll down the hallway anymore.
Mhm.
No one does that stuff. Everyone just draws the map.
Oh
and
wait, I still do. Don't
you
go
still do
there.
that? Okay.
Oh, we still do a lot of that stuff in our
Okay.
All this
Yeah,
damage
so-
I brought up-
vision
I brought up the
everywhere.
rolling
Everybody's
ball
got- Everybody's
last
got dark
week. I brought up
vision.
that rolling ball.
Okay, good. So there is still some of that sort of stuff going
Yes,
on, right?
it is still going on. So there are some creative players definitely still out there that are definitely doing some of that stuff. I trust us.
Yeah, because when I would go dungeon exploring, right, I'd go on. I would probably be prodding the floor in front of me with a spear or a 10-foot pole. If I was a fighter, I had a spear, right?
Right.
Checking that, right? I go 10 feet, stop. I look up. Is there anything? Do I notice anything on the ceiling? I look to the sides. Or any holes in the wall? Any spider webs? Anything weird? Right? Okay, go forward 10 more feet. Prod. Look around. So it's then you hit a doorway.
My players are getting very creative with it. One of them dipped a skull in metal, so it was heavy, and they were having a rope, and they were like throwing this copper skull ahead
As
of
a
them.
weapon or as some kind of a detection?
No,
Oh, it was a detection
detective pin.
device.
My players
Detection
use goblins for
stuff.
that. They actually get like
Yeah.
They just
goblins.
throw goblins right in there.
That's what Rob Kuntz did. So Rob Kuntz played Robilar in my dad's original campaign, and he was a good character until he found something and he wanted to steal it, and so he became Chaotic Evil and whatever or something like this. Basically, that's it. So now he's a Chaotic Evil guy, and he had an army of orcs, that he had subdued, and so he went to Tomb of Horrors and went through it, and he put orcs in front of him to go through it, right? So if you're familiar with Tomb of Horrors, there's a lot of pits, right?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
My dad was very proud. He said, I designed that for Rob Kuntz and the way he went through dungeons, because he would never map. He memorized everything, but he had a pattern of how he would go through. So all those pits are made to
Break his mind.
hit the
Great.
way he mapped. So he said there's a dead orc in the bottom of every pit in Tomb of Horrors. So that was
I love that story. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
Awesome.
love that
yeah.
story.
So
Is that the adventure that has like it's all just traps? There's no actual encounters, like fight.
there's
There
encounters.
are encounters. There are a lot of false tombs, so your
It was a
players
different-
can go
maybe it's
in
a
it and
different
not realize they've gone all the way through it. There's the sex change doorway,
Yeah, that in the old the Dark Temple or whatever it is.
right? And then
Yeah.
there's a mouth, which is a
The demon mouth, yeah, the green devil mouth.
the green devil mouth, which has become a super icon of the game. Almost as a staple of the game. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's I think it was Errol
Is
Otis.
there something inside the mouth? Something of oblivion.
There is something inside there. Spoiler. This was like
Spoiler, yeah.
this was like the 1977 or it was the Origins one. When was Origins one?
Oh my gosh.
Doc would know.
It might be on the inside.
No, I think it's before me. I think it's 73. It's before me. It's way before me.
So let's see.
It's before me.
But Doc, there was nothing before you.
Yeah, there was before me. There was before me.
Lies.
It was super old. It's not where. Man, I'm trying to figure out where it is. I can go look, but it's it's like it was old. It was old. It was
Someone will
Origins
put it-
one.
Someone will put it in our comments. Don't worry. Someone will in the
I'm
comments.
sure. Well, I mean, I run Tomb of Horrors and I have it written down, so I could look it up, but I'd have to do a little search around. But
Yeah.
a long time, it was 76, whatever it was. Origins 1, it was a tournament module, and basically what my dad got tired of is people would write him and say, my character is like 37th level. We've killed Odin and the entire pantheon. We're bored. Can you make this game like cooler? Right? And he's like, what are you talking about? What game are you playing?
Yeah.
So he said, okay, great. He's like, okay, great. You want it? I've got something for you, and it's going to be dangerous, and you're going to have to think.
Hey everyone, we're going to take a quick little break from this special episode, but stick around, don't leave, because when we come back, we're going to finish our episode with Luke Gygax. In this interview, he gifted us with a few little stories that we weren't expecting, and you're not going to want to miss them. So don't leave. During the break, we have our featured band, On Lap. They have been on our show at least once or twice before, and they are fantastic to listen to. We have our music parody by Arcane Anthem. We have our Deception Checks, which feature Michael Riley and Josh McGinnis from Dungeon Studios. And we have our comedy skit from God and Angel. We've had them on the show for a few weeks as well, and they are so funny. So you want to go find them on their Instagram and TikTok account. They are at God_N_Angel on both platforms. So make sure you go find them. And then we'll probably have some bad lip reading. Then we'll get back to Luke.
Peter, before you even start, I gotta say, I love the look of this thing.
I knew you would.
And I do not love the look of this thing.
Yeah, I knew that too because you're a coward.
What?
I said in this whole thing that we do, you're quite powerful.
You are.
Really?
Yeah, no. So anyway, yeah, this thing, I like it. It's got a lot of teeth. Yeah, how many teeth are in that thing?
That is still up for debate. I just kept putting on teeth, and yeah, it's got teeth.
And what are we calling it? Like you have two names there. I see shark or tooth tube.
I don't know. Yeah, shark or tooth tube. I don't know. The idea came to me in a pleasant dream the other night.
What was pleasant about a dream with this thing in it?
The absolute carnage.
I love it. Go on, keep going. You're on a roll, Pete.
This thing is the perfect machine, an eating machine, if you will. All this thing does is eat and make little baby sharks.
Go on.
And it's got black eyes like doll's eyes. When it comes at you, it doesn't seem to be living until it bites down on you, and those black eyes roll over white, and then comes the terrible screaming and hollering, and and then the sea turns red with blood.
You are terrifying. Like, absolutely terrifying. I can't be in the same room with him. He's scaring the heck out of me.
Sometimes I don't think you're getting what I'm trying to do down there at all.
Sometimes I don't either, and I'm okay with that. This is freaking me out.
I love it. Peter, run it.
Yes, my lord.
He called me my lord. That guy fucking rips.
I am not getting good vibes from that guy.
I'm getting great vibes from him.
I'm getting minion, evil lord vibes. He's about to...
Yeah? What makes you think you aren't working for some kind of evil lord?
We're wearing white robes. White robes are meant to be kind of good fellas, right?
Are they?
Why are you always making me climb in the smallest of places?
Well, Jerry, this is the best way to get to the podcast that we need to steal this week.
It's always
Like we do every week on Mondays.
Mondays, every Monday.
Yeah, religiously.
Sometimes I wish we could just walk through the door, but yeah. Every Monday on where do they find it?
On Spotify, Apple, anywhere you can find podcasts. That's where we are.
I get so hot in these vents, I think they have the heater on.
Oh, Jeremy, don't move. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Michael and Jeremy Steal Your Podcast every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts and stuff.
We're going to take your podcast and we're going to do it
Better,
faster,
stronger,
hornier,
yes,
in an hour.
or more. Sometimes.
I used to feel like a rock, invincible. Inside my head, everything's impossible. Give me hope, give me strength, give me something. Anything that I could believe in. I recall the day I woke up. Early morning, the doctor on the phone. One more pill, one more night, hardly breathing. There's a stranger in my side. Looked at me now, falling in the dark. I'm just looking for a song. Running in the dark. Why is this happening to me? Those words still ringing in my head. They shut me down. I spent weeks laying in my bed. Give me hope, give me strength, give me something. Anything that I could believe in. Look at me now. Look at me now. Running in the dark. I'm just looking for a song. Running in the dark. And it goes on and on and on. I am running in the dark. Slowly losing my ground. Running in the dark. Why is this happening to me? I used to feel like a rock, invincible. Inside my head, everything's impossible. Give me hope, give me strength, give me something. Anything that I could believe in. Give me hope, give me strength, give me something. It's a stranger in my skin. Running in the dark. I'm just looking for a song. Running in the dark. And it goes on and on and on. I am running in the dark. Slowly losing my ground. Running in the dark. Why is this happening to me?
Hi, my name is Sebastian Kamor. I have a client, Mr. D. He's chosen to grace your establishment with their presence on the 18th.
Okay.
It's quite the honor to be chosen. My client is known worldwide, and let's just say that their followers run into the millions. They hold sway over an untold number of souls, so I assume that your establishment can hold a client of this magnitude?
Yes, I mean, I don't know what kind of request you're asking me.
Excellent. He's very particular. So the expectations, we just need to know that you can accommodate the following. Do you have a pen handy?
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you sanitize your establishment?
The entire establishment, I can't do that.
Oh, we do require that the door handles specifically be thoroughly sanitized before we arrive.
The handle?
The door handles, yes.
Okay.
Also, we do require that the heat be set to 85 degrees 36 minutes before they arrive. Will there be small children at the establishment?
Most likely.
Okay, we will just have to ensure that none of them look directly into his eyes.
I'm afraid I can't meet those. I can't meet those requirements because I can't really tell my clients not to do that.
Well,
because it's a small restaurant.
Well, let's see if we can at least get through the last one, and then we'll be able to make a decision. His entourage is 13 seats total. Okay. Now they will have orders. The waitress will take the orders, but you guys will not bring any of their food because they don't deserve it and they need to learn their place.
I'm afraid I can't do this.
I highly recommend you take our offer.
It's not about the money.
It's not. Well, then
So
what is it
really
about?
Yeah, but your requirements, what you're asking me, I can't really tell my servers not to serve them or not to approach them. I can't.
Oh
really
no,
do
they'll
that.
be able to take their orders. They just won't be able to bring them any food, and we'll make sure that we pay for all of the food that they bring.
I can't do that. I'm so sorry.
I've got something for you, and it's going to be dangerous, and you're going to have to think. It's not just rolling dice. There's do this or you're dead.
Yeah.
And that's what it's meant for. So it was a tournament module. It was meant to be very deadly. It was, it was designed to be awful. And
dying was part of the game then. Dying was part of the game.
And those people that were complaining, did they receive it well?
I don't know.
I was just curious.
I know in probably 1980, I was asking my dad to play D&D as a kid. And he was like, okay, sure. You want to play? So my sister Heidi and I played some D&D. And I took that same character I started in Village of Hamlet. And he took me to out in the, you went across and you're looking for a place. There was supposedly some ancient wizard is entombed there. And there's treasure and all this. I didn't know it was Tomb of Horrors, right?
Right.
So I ended up going through Tomb of Horrors as my 10th level ranger, Otis. And there's if you don't do some things right, or you make some choices and take the wrong passage, essentially everything that's non-living gets teleported to the end of the adventure where the Lich Acererak has his treasure trove, right? And you get teleported to the beginning, the very entrance of the Tomb of Horrors, completely naked.
Oh, great.
So there I was, completely naked. I'm like, well, I got to get my stuff. It's been spent a lot of time. I went through all the giant series. I went through.
It's
all
a rite
the
of
Drow
passage
series,
you've
right?
gone
Come on.
through, getting naked in the Tomb of Hearts. Rite of passage.
But I mean, I played this thing from like 4 to 10. It's like 6 or 7 years I played this character. This is a big deal. So only D&D character I've ever had, right? So I'm adventuring around some more. There's some levers somewhere in there. And if you push all the 3 levers up, the floor falls out. You go down a 100-foot pit.
Oh, ouch.
I survived because I had 111 hit points as a 10th level ranger with an 18 constitution.
Unreal.
It is unreal, right? But I hit the bottom, so I was very low on hit points. But what do you do at the bottom of a 100-foot pit?
Right. Now you're just going to starve.
That was the end of my character. That was the end of my very first character.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. So
But
I never
heard,
played him again.
but I heard you had something to do with Melf's acid arrow.
So Melf was the character I rolled up after that. So
after that.
So my second character was Melf.
Your second character.
Yeah, there's Melf's Acid Arrow and some
Melf's Minute Meteors. So those are from adventuring in Greyhawk. And again, I'm the youngest of my dad's 5 children. I do have a half brother who's 16 years younger than me, or 15 and a half years younger than me, who's getting married in like 2 weeks on Saturday.
Oh,
so that's great. Yeah.
congratulations.
Yep. So that'd be great. That's during Game Hole, the Saturday of Game Hole. If you guys are familiar with Game Hole Con in Madison, great convention. My friend Alex Kammer runs that.
Nice.
So I'll be there for that, and then of course my brother's wedding. But yeah. So Melf, I rolled up Melf, and I was adventuring through Greyhawk Dungeon, which is dungeon crawling, right? And I was a fighter magic user, and it was just me, right? My brothers and sisters were gone, so I just pester my dad. Let's play. Right? So I was 11, 12. Let's play.
That's awesome.
And, right. And he'd be like, okay, kid, so we'll play. And so he'd get out his binder and we'd play. Of course, when you old school D&D, so you had to your mapping, and when you get to a door, you have to roll your strength to open it up. So I had a 17 strength as Mel.
Respectable.
Right, it's very good. It's before I used Ring of Wishes when I went through Saj Camp. So I used the Tome of Intellect to raise my intelligence to 19 because I had 18 intelligence. And then I used a Ring of Wishes to raise my strength up one point, rolled for it, got to 1881, and I used the 2 more wishes to get to 1901, right? Because I only went 10% each time.
And smart.
Right, which he was strong and smart. So
you know about the percentile dice thing in the strength stats with D&D, AD&D?
Oh shoot! I didn't even think about. I just assumed everybody.
Yeah, it clicked right in my head. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with the very old, AD&D. However, I can follow along.
We don't need to learn the rules. Let's not learn the rules. We don't need to go there. It's okay.
If you weren't a fighter, you could have 18 strength, which would give you a +2, +3, maybe. I think +2, +3,
something like that.
Yeah, to hit and damage. If you were a fighter, you could have it was gradiated. Like you could get your strength up there, and the best was 1800, right?
Right,
which was +3.
That was the only special benefit a fighter had back in those days.
It's remarkable how many fighters. How remarkable how many fighters.
No second wind.
Had 1800. Yeah, 1800.
My friends seem to roll 18100 on a remarkable basis. God.
Which was the same strength as an ogre,
right?
So an ogre had 1800.
Even the Conan modules didn't have 18100 strength.
You had like 1880 something. And so a hill giant had a 19 strength. So a 19 strength, super amazing. And I'm like a 5 foot tall, a gray elf. So I'm a tiny little guy, right? Anyways,
the vision is just
right. So so I was like, Mighty Mouse.
That's amazing.
So I'm solo adventuring. I go down there. What would always happen is, or oftentimes, not always, there would be minions and like a spellcaster, right? This is a common thing. Evil high priest, magic user, orcs, goblins, kobolds, brigands, doesn't matter, right? So the problem is I'm fighting and I'm getting hit with spells, right? This sucks. And I can't break through and get to them. Right, I have to kill the guys in front of me to be able to break through and get to the spellcaster. Again, back in the old days, if you are taking damage,
the
spell's gone.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Melf's acid arrow. I'm thinking, I'm an elf. I have a bonus to use bows. I could kick in the door and I could shoot a spellcaster with my arrow pretty easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
My dad's like, yeah, you can't put a vial of acid on an arrow. Where I was like, what can I fire? What can I do? He's like, no, that's going to work. I said, well, okay, how about magic? It's like, all right, we'll go research it and write it up. So we did that. I had to spend my hard-earned gold pieces and time out of game to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We came up with Melf's acid arrow. So does it do a ton of damage? No. But what does it do? It gives you damage
stop that spell
time. Right?
Stop that spell coming at you.
So you get like 3 or 4 rounds of that spell being negated. So it was tactical. So boom, I kick open the door. There's a spellcaster. They're wearing a pointy hat and robes, right? Spellcaster. We know that because it's old school, right?
Right.
Boom, Melf's acid arrow. I'm a fighter, so I can hit pretty good, right? So I roll on the fighter table to hit.
Yeah.
Nice, right?
Right.
I hit them. They're done for like 3 rounds. I can clean up on all these, meat shields in front of me. And then I'm in their face. And it's game over for them. So that was how I came up with Melf's acid.
I love the history on that. That's
very
amazing.
nice. Very nice. Thank you. That's a good story. Very good story.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Let's say Melf's minute meteors. Not so glorious of a story. Not so genius of anything going on. I made 5th level spellcaster. What does that mean? What does that mean for 5th level? What is it? What does everybody
I don't
want
know.
as a 5th level? 5th level magic user. What do you
I
want?
have not played a magic user yet.
Fireball, of course.
Fireball.
Fireball.
It's
You got a
fireball
3rd level
time.
spell.
It's
Everybody's
fireball.
I play
dying
melee
for that.
all the time.
Sorry, I didn't realize I'm not worthy.
Fireball.
It's fireball
Yes,
time.
Fireball.
I
So
didn't know there was going to be a test.
right, I was pretty savvy. I kicked in the door like 2 ogres or something. How big is the room? It's 30 by 30. I'm like, yes. Fireball.
Fireball.
Fireball, right? Guess what? I learned the difference between area and volume.
Yes.
The ceiling was not 30 feet high. The ceiling was like 10 feet high.
Uh-oh.
So guess who got all of their equipment burned off of their body and took all the damage?
Right.
You had no more
'Cause-
eyebrows.
Right, because and back in the day, guess what? If you failed your saving throw as your person, like you failed your overall saving throw, you had to go down your character sheet, and every piece of equipment you had, everything you're wearing, you had to go and you had to roll on a chart for the saving throw
to see,
versus fire.
Yeah.
And if
to
it
see
failed,
if they survived or not. Yeah.
it's done. So potions boiled away, scrolls burned up. So it was painful. It was painful.
Oh man, that was a painful lesson.
And I was like,
Incrementally painful too.
I was like, yeah, and I was like, this is BS. This is BS. I should be able to break those fireballs into smaller, more usable fireballs. So he said, okay, you want to break them into smaller, usable fireballs? No problem. Let's go spend some of your hard-earned gold and tell me about it, and then we'll work on it.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I still think that was a good story.
It's still a good story. It's still a good story. It wasn't as good, but I see not as much drama.
Yeah, but I'm like 11 or 12 during this time. Yeah, I was like the early 80s. So
Was your dad like deadpan face, or was he like snickering? Was he?
no,
what was
he
his-
was pretty. He had his
Deadpan?
DM face on, so he was like, all right. Yeah, he did.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't razz me or like twist the knife or anything or like yeah. He wasn't too bad about that. He would try to give me hints and help me out. I mean, I was his kid, but the dice fell where they may, right?
Yeah.
My first character died in the bottom of a pit.
Did you play a lot of one-on-one with your dad? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about one-on-one play generally, like as a thing, as a phenomena, as something that's, is it worth doing? Because I run a lot of one-on-one games, so I'm curious.
I loved it.
What you think about
And then
love it.
after that, we should move to our quick fire questions.
Okay.
So that
Yeah,
we
I
don't keep
loved
too
it
long.
personally. It was great for me because that was my best friend. It was my dad, and I got to do. He was busy, right? So at least if I did this with him, I could be playtesting something or whatever it was, so he could validate using the time. I got to hang out with my dad. It was great.
Right.
That's awesome. All right, quick fire questions. Do you want
right.
to do them, Doc?
Yeah, I can do them. I don't mind doing them.
And some of these are from our viewers
and
other
all
folks
different
at
things.
Dungeon Studios.
And if you want to stop at anyone and like say, hey, I want to explain this some more to you, you can feel free if it's like warm to your heart. Okay.
I was going to say, if he wants to just go, okay.
I'll just be like, I'm out of here.
I'm
Sit.
done.
Right. All right. Learn a little bit about Luke Gygax here, outside of D&D. Okay. Number one, Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Okay.
Marvel's better. My mom ran the advertising for TSR back in the day, so I got a copy of every comic book that had Dungeons and Dragons ads in it.
So you got
I
sucked right into Marvel.
stacks them. Yeah, there's still some of them still up there, but I had a lot more. But I loved, from the DC side, I hope I get this right because I didn't care back in the day. I was just reading them. But I think was Sergeant Rock DC or was that Marvel?
He might have been across, so he might have crossed over.
Oh, okay. Because I liked those ones, but of course X-Men was cool. There was like I think Secret Wars was going on. The Amazing Spectacular Spider-Man and Amazing
DC,
Spider-Man.
according to websites.
DC. Okay, great. So there was Sergeant
So he crossed
Rock
over a bit. He crossed over a bit.
Combat that were great. But yeah, so there were.
All right, here we go. We keep going.
Predominantly Marvel. Predominantly
Number two, Metal or Funk?
Metal.
Conan or Elric?
I have to say I'm a Conan fan. Elric pisses me off because he's so weak. I just want to choke him. Yeah, he's a whiny. Yeah, I want to slap him. Like, stop it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh man, see, both are good, but I'm probably going to say Star Wars. Star Trek was a little bit too. They talked too much and didn't have enough break it.
All right. 2d6 or 1 die 12?
I like the D6s better personally.
Okay.
Well, it's 2 to 12. Come on, you've got to,
It's a better chance for rolling higher, right? That's
It was a bell curve.
I would think so.
All right. So, are you a glass half full or a glass half empty?
I would like to say that I'm a glass half full person, but if I'm being honest with you, I'm a bit of a pessimist and a belt and suspenders guy. I was a logistician in the army. So yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely cause you there. Okay, zombies or vampires?
Yeah, zombies are dumb and who cares, right? Vampires are cunning and evil and have personality. Definitely vampires.
All right. Robots or dinosaurs?
Robots. There's way cooler.
All right. Time machine or magic wand?
Oh man, magic wands. Magic wands. Although I do like Doctor Who, which is kind of like time and relative distance, I guess.
It is timey-wimey.
Both,
Okay.
They can both be good. They can both be good.
All right. Are you a flip-flops or sneakers?
I'm wearing flip-flops right now, but I do like sneakers as well. In fact,
I
I'm
saw
designing.
him do the look. He was like, "Do I dare say this right now?"
I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek.
no.
We hit something.
Here's some prototypes of some sneakers I am making. Now these are prototypes.
That's not
They're gonna
Archon, is that?
They're going to be no. This is
Okay.
just a red dragon.
Okay.
That I made up, but
really nice, sweet.
Yeah, for
Wow.
a lifestyle.
Oh, I love the
G20. Yeah, it's a
Cool.
G20 is what I'm going to
Yeah.
be doing. And so these are pretty slick. They'll be available soon. But
Is there a little
what I didn't
pocket
account
you can
for
put
is
your D20s in? There needs to be a little
that would be.
pocket.
See, there you go. That'll be in like the second generation. Now I need that. I need.
And
to-
then when you kick someone, it falls out and rolls.
There you go. See, or maybe it's just in the toe here. You kick somebody's like electronic and it does a die roll. And you say, how was that kick? But yeah, so this is a prototype. I got to make some changes on here. But anyway, that'll be coming in the future.
Well, now
Look at
you
that.
need to make a flip-flop version.
Yes.
I've already been thinking about it because
Yes.
I'm going to make.
So both.
I don't want to give away all my secrets, but
so
that's
your
okay.
answer there is both. Okay, now this
Yeah.
one is very important. Schwarzenegger or Stallone?
Schwarzenegger, easily, hands down. Love that guy. He's my favorite forever. Any of his movies, I'll watch
Same.
him over and over again.
Okay. Now I know this is a hard one. What would you list right now as your favorite book?
Yeah, that's impossible.
Right? That is hard.
What would you just put one that you throw up in the top there?
Okay, I am,
Or that we should read. You want us to read
okay.
it.
So I really like. There's a gentleman named Larry Correia who does the Grim Noir series that I thought was very good. He also does Monster Hunters International. That's
Okay.
quite good. And I'm working on a book series with a guy named James Hunter who wrote Rogue Dungeon, which is also quite good in the lit RPG category. But we're going to be developing. In fact, I've got to get on there and read some chapters that he sent to me to go over and kind of work on for a World of Okram adventure that we're getting out, and hopefully we'll be out in early 2024.
All right.
Amazing.
Favorite game snack. Everyone wants to know your favorite game snack.
Oh man, bourbon is a snack or no?
That could be.
I say yes.
I say yes. I say yes. My friends would all say
But not
yes.
bourbon, rye.
Okay. Oh, right. So that's a little harsh. I guess
Yeah.
I'm a little I'm a girly man. I have to go with the bourbon. So
All right. And your favorite sport.
football
All right.
or
all right.
MMA, one of those two.
Do you do?
favorite-
Can I wait?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Can I
Go ahead.
ask because I know you're into fitness? Do you do any martial arts training?
I did a long time ago, just a tiniest bit. And to be honest with you, I thought, oh, I should get into Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like I was like, or a
Yeah.
little bit of both. Now that I have a bit more time, I just realized that unfortunately I have like a ruptured disc in my L5S1. So
Yeah.
I was just doing like a workout where someone's, is like, okay, do bicycle sit-ups, where you twist and do the
Yeah.
sit. I did like 2 of them and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna
Dying.
die.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, I can do these things because I'm not making those kind of movements. But in combat, in
Got
fighting,
it. Yeah.
you don't get that option, right? So
Right.
probably not. Yeah, not the smartest thing for me to do. As
Okay.
someone told me, you're 52, you're not trying out for the football team anymore, so you can probably like pump the brakes a little bit.
Try some Tai Chi.
You know what?
Chi.
That'd be great. Yoga is probably really good for me, and that's another one with the flexibility. I just
Yeah.
always feel awkward, like I'm gonna goof it up, which is a dumb thing. Like, right? I should know better.
No,
Yoga's
no,
a lot
no.
harder than it looks.
Oh my
it looks like
gosh.
people are just standing there and
Oh, no.
relaxing, and it is strenuous.
It's super strenuous. Yeah, there's much respect to the people who are doing all the yoga stuff. I'm not casting any aspersions.
That's why I like Tai Chi better than yoga. Yoga's a little too stressful for my stuff. All right, back to it.
Okay, sorry,
Okay.
go.
Favorite recording artist or musician?
There's
You can pick
too
a couple.
many.
You can throw a couple.
Okay, from
give us-
Metallica to Elton John.
All right, so you're in that rock genre that you love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beatles,
what was
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Rolling Stones.
all right? I'm a Queen man myself. All right.
Queen's better than both. I agree
Yes.
with that.
Oh, well, there we go. Okay.
I feel like we are just best friends now. Go ahead.
So what was your
In
last
fact, that's
impulse?
a Queen song. I mean, we could do that.
You're my best friend. Okay. What's your last impulse buy? Yeah, wait.
Those
if you don't want to
shoes.
tell your wife, wait. He may not.
Oh,
he may
yeah,
not tell us. He may not want to say it out loud. I don't know.
I'm on Amazon all the time, but it's usually for practical stuff like, oh, I forgot to get this at the store, and I order some.
Right.
Drano
What was
or
your
something like that.
last impulse buy? Something you bought for yourself.
I don't buy myself stuff very much. Oh,
well,
yeah, I guess that's it. I just don't do it.
all right. Well, I guess it's time to get yourself
I
something.
will have to do so. I was
All
looking
right.
at customizing some jerseys for GaryCon.
There you go.
And I was thinking, like, what would I put on the front? Would it be Grognard? Would it be GaryCon? Not sure. 'Cause I'm thinking on the shoulders, I would like probably 74 to 24, and then the number 50,
Oh, cool. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like the 50th anniversary, and then Gygax on the back for my dad. So I guess that would be an impulse buy. I just didn't pull the trigger because I wasn't sure.
Well, maybe you need to go with that impulse.
I do.
Maybe
I should. That's
maybe
it. That's it. I've got to do it.
There you go.
It's a done deal.
Okay. You work out, and what motivates you most?
Other people working out, because I started a group to work out, and it's easy as you get older. It's easy to put on weight. It's easy to be unhealthy. I mean, I guess honestly, what motivates me is the fact that I have young children, and I would like to be there for their children. So I want to stay healthy, and
that's your motivator.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
my
people
motivator.
around you. The people around you.
The
That's
people
my
around me.
that's my motivator with my chronic illness too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's other. We're social animals. Why are we gamers? We like hanging out with other people and
Health
making stories.
insurance.
It is health insurance.
It's the best
All
health.
right, we got two more to go.
Okay. All right,
and then we'll let you go. So sorry.
dude. I could talk for like another 3 hours. That's why. Yeah.
Well, if
What
you would.
We can talk
what
to you for another
mythical
3 hours if you want to.
we could too. We could too. Okay. What mythical creature would you believe could be real?
Ooh.
A Yeti.
Okay. And then the last one, if you got to devote the rest of your life to philanthropy, what cause would you choose?
Well, with GaryCon, we support Children's Hospital, which works with a lot of kids with terminal, oftentimes terminal illnesses like cancer and that sort of thing. And I think that's a very worthy cause. So I would continue to help.
You would continue to help that.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
That's great.
that was 20 questions.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, they went by
Yeah.
so fast.
You survived
Yeah.
questions.
It's kind of
And
nice
thank you
to get
for
like
your
different
service.
different than definitely. I put here at the bottom, are there any cool like military like things you could tell us that you have to kill us afterwards?
Well, I would have to kill you afterwards. So
Yeah, but I'll take it.
I won't. But go ahead. You can tell him.
No, thank you for your
military.
service. Thank you for your
You're
service.
welcome. The military was great, and what a wonderful. I mean, for me, it was very helpful because if you're uncertain of what young person is sure of everything about the future, right?
Right.
Man, I grew up in the shadow of a guy who was a famous writer. I was asked, what is it like to be a son? I just wanted to be me, right? So when I joined the Army, I was able to be me, and I joined the infantry. It was great. I got to, do tough guy stuff, and there was basically a script laid out. This is how you do things.
It was very
here's how it
structured.
works. It was right. It was great. You put on a uniform. You can tell who's in charge of what. You got your cool guy badges that said things that you've done. So you could look at somebody and know how they fit into everything. Very reassuring for a young person, right? Taught me a good work ethic, how to get up on time, be there on time, get the job done, get it accomplished, put up with a bunch of, guess what? Life's not always easy, right? Things don't go your way. Sometimes it's hard work. So I did a lot of grunt work, a lot of crappy stuff. So when I got out and I sent myself to college, I worked for UPS loading trucks in the morning. So I'd go to work at like 3:00 every morning and load trucks from like 3 a.m. until 7:30 in the morning. Christmas time, it was like 12:30 at night, like right after midnight to like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning because of seasonal swing,
Yeah.
right? And then I'd go to class, right? Then I'd go to school and work or do that, do that sort of thing. But I remember I volunteered to stay. Like, oh, a truck came in late. There was a snowstorm, and they wanted me to unload a semi. Right, so you get like 50 minutes to unload a packed semi of stuff. So I got it done, and the guy said, "Oh wow, thank you." And I was like, "This is just how I was programmed." I was like, "You don't have to thank me. It's my job. You're paying me."
Yeah.
Right. And he'd say, "You can call me Tom." I was like, "No, sir, I'll call you Mr. Whatever." Right. Because that's just the way it was. Like, I'm not gonna, I don't know, like, you know,
Yeah.
you're Mr. Whatever. You don't thank me. I'll do my job. And guess what? If I don't like it, I can quit. And no one's shooting at me. So that's awesome. So
Yeah.
so that was just my attitude. So it gives you a bit of perspective, you know.
Right.
Okay, it's raining. So what? I get wet. I'm gonna go inside and be dry. I don't have to sit out here for like days and days and deal with the elements. So
that's interesting. It goes with your style of motivation. Everybody around you, military everybody works like a big machine too.
That's true.
And I bet your family works that way with your 3 daughters too, right?
They love to argue and fight and don't want to do stuff. It's not my job. It's her job. So I have to. So that's a whole nother story. Family dynamics are hard.
Well, and when we first said we were going to have you on, I made a whole list about family dynamic questions, and I'm like, oh my God, we could have a whole nother show about that. Absolutely. Yeah. So I stayed with the game. So thank you so much.
No, it's awesome. And you know, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it and letting me talk to your viewers. And I just want to, I guess the thing I would promote, which
I was going to say, this is your chance.
Say,
go.
Said that up front. So it's the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons in 2024, right? So the role-playing game genre was invented. This did not exist. So I know all of us just, oh yeah, of course, role-playing. We all do that, right?
Right.
But
it didn't exist.
It's remarkable because it's not like you need computers or microchips or electricity to create role-playing games. You know, the Egyptians could have done this. You know, there's nothing that could have stopped them. Nothing would have stopped them from doing this. This is an innovation that only happened in this century. You know, it's quite bizarre.
I think it is it's the only genre of game that we know who invented, right? The rest are all lost to history, right? And it's been hundreds of years since a new genre of game was invented, and that's role-playing games, right? And so, so it's amazing. And, you know, I didn't understand all of this as a kid growing up. I had no idea, right? And we take all of this for granted, but it was revolutionary. It was a revolutionary concept. The idea of a team of people cooperating to get to a common goal was really unheard of, right? All think of all the other games,
and then it became like the number one. But then it became the number one thing every management team was trying to do to get their teams to work together. And meanwhile, kids were busy doing it in basements across the nation secretly because Satan was taking them over.
Yeah. So I mean, there's essentially it's open-ended. There's no board. It's continuous. You don't. You know, if you play a game of Risk or Monopoly, when you finish the game and you set it up again, no one gets an advantage. If you won last time, you don't get any bonuses. You don't get around the board any faster. You don't get any extra armies, right? Mm-hmm. But in Dungeons and Dragons, you've leveled up, right? People now say that when you have a birthday, you've leveled up, and they aren't gamers. Right. Just think about that. Look at all the video games and all this sort of stuff. It's everywhere, right? So absolutely. So there's no winner, you know, there's not a winner and loser per se. Like you don't compete, like you don't have to crush everybody else. In Monopoly, you crush everybody else. In Risk, you crush everyone else. In poker, you take everyone else's money and that's how you win, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a cooperative game versus a competitive game. You know, there's boards or a track or whatever it is, and you go around it and around it or whatever it is. In D&D, that's not the case. Sure, there may be a map, but if you say, I want to go this way, or I want to do that, you can. There's no limits.
Say, those guys were creating virtual worlds on paper long before anyone was making one in a computer. You know, they were creating huge virtual worlds.
How do you feel about how technology is changing Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games generally?
I mean, I think when it's a helpful tool, like a D&D Beyond, that can be a game aid. Right. I do think that we need to be careful. I played Theater of the Mind. I still run Theater of the Mind predominantly because when you provide structure or a visual, that can be limiting.
Yep.
Here's the room that you're in. Okay, great. So I look around. What is it? Now, if you just told me I'm in a room, I'm in a tavern. Great.
Is there
a situation? can I jump up onto the chandelier and swing across and then kick the guy in the face? I never thought there was a chandelier there, but it sounds cool.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that.
Right.
But if you've got a map there, it's finite.
Right. There's no chandelier. Oh, the table's over here. It didn't work. That does.
So you're saying that there is still a balance between the technology and the actual theater of the mind part of the game. It's got to always be a component.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's the magic of RPGs.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Baldur's Gate is a great video game. I've played 65 hours of it or something so
Gosh,
far.
I want to play so bad.
Oh, dude, don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I know. That's why
I won't.
Productivity is ruined.
Nope.
Your productivity is ruined.
Nope.
My daughter's like, oh, we can play. And now, yes, I've lost so many hours to that thing. It's awful. But I've had fun. So yeah, it's great. However, it's frustrating because it lets you do stupid things, and you're like, I didn't mean to like magic missile my own guy. Come on, why would I do that? You know, right. So it's just there's some flaws and some limitations there, but it's also really wonderful in a lot of ways. So there's that balance. Doing that sort of thing is great. However, the magic of D&D for me is really being in person, enjoying each other's company. Riffing off of each other in the DM,
right?
And then honestly, outside of the actual gameplay, having that social time as a middle-aged or older, I guess now, a 50-something-year-old guy, right? That's important. How many times do you get to have a little time where it's not family-oriented or a work obligation, where you have
dedicated time,
dedicated time, and you're going to catch up with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And hear what's going on with them, as well as be able to share things that are going on with you in the breaks of the game, and that is very helpful.
I'd
social animals.
I'd actually be interested to know how many people are actually meeting like that to play D&D instead of meeting to play poker now. I bet you there's more people meeting to play role-playing games than to get together and play card games and board games now.
Yeah, board games are super popular too. People really love board games because if you're all very busy, no one has to invest that extra time to be the game master.
Right. You can
and I think it scratches a similar itch in that area. And I enjoy board games, but I really prefer RPGs because when I'm playing a board game, I'm super competitive, and so I'm thinking about how I can crush you,
right?
Your best friends.
As opposed to like, as opposed to cooperating. Right?
If I'm role playing, it's a different thing. But if there's no role play involved, I'm gonna murder people.
Right, exactly. And then worse, I'm a soar winner where I'll gloat that I beat you as well. Not a great trait. Not a great trait either. So better to have me role play, or I'll be a petulant loser and sulk, or I will gloat that I have won. So
you did say you were the youngest growing up, so I see where that all comes from. I get it.
Exactly.
Totally get it. Totally get it.
Yeah.
So next year is, you said next year is the 50th anniversary, and then it's also the 15th anniversary.
It's GaryCon 16.
So
16. GaryCon 16.
Okay.
Yep. So, but so there's GaryCon, and that's honestly, I think we have like 300 badges left. That's it, and it's going to be sold out. So what I did is, because it's the 50th year, I said, you know what? Let's do a special celebration, a smaller celebration, the weekend before GaryCon. So March 16th to 18th, I'm holding a very small convention called Founders and Legends. We're going to have like 20 guests who are coming there. I'll do a little name dropping for you just for fun, since I have it open right here. Ooh, it's so exciting. Zeb Cook, who did second edition D&D, you may have heard of that guy. Keith Baker, who created Eberron. James Ward, who created the first science fiction role-playing game called Metamorphosis Alpha. Mike Carr, who was the editor on several, like the DMG, Advanced Dragons DMG. He made Fight in the Skies, a World War I aircraft game. Tom Wam, who worked for Guidon Games before he became like the third employee at TSR. He did the art in the Monster Manual for the Beholder. He's done a whole bunch of other stuff. Skip Williams, who did like Sage Advice and that sort of stuff, and also was prominent in third edition D&D, but he was like a high school kid and hung out at our house. So so he's like my brother Ernie's peer. Errol Otis, talented artist who's known for like the Deities and Demigods cover, and he also runs D&D. He's
I love that cover.
Great dude, super nice. Oh, he also did the art for us for GaryCon, which GaryCon 16, he's the artist, but I also put it on a shoe.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Right. And I'm gonna switch it, like this is a prototype, so I'm gonna switch it over or switch around a little bit. So
yeah,
that's why you get prototypes to make sure how it fits. The eyelets and the
Yeah.
all that threw me off.
All the little
So Errol will
details.
be there. Errol's a super awesome guy. Alan Hammock, who was it Ghost Tower of Inverness, I think was that Alan Hammock? Yeah. Harold Johnson, Stefan Picorni of Dwarven Forge, who loves AD&D. He's a huge AD&D supporter. Peter Adkison, I think he's coming too. He now owns Gen Con and started this company called Wizards of the Coast. You may have heard of them a while ago, right? So he started that company. Yeah, they did some game called Magic, I think. Yeah.
Nothing to do with either. How did they
Yeah.
mesh that thing together? I don't know how they ever did that
Yeah,
thing
no.
anyway.
Bill Webb from Frog God Games, Steve Chenault from Troll Lord, who worked with my dad in the last years of his life, of course. I think Jeff Richard is going to be there from Chaosium, the creative lead of Chaosium. Pat Kilbane, who worked on the Dreams in Gary's Basement documentary. He's also a comedic actor who's on like Mad TV and some other things like that. If you ever watched, you'll probably remember him if you watched Jerry Seinfeld. He was Evil Kramer when they did the
okay.
So I know that's just like a little bit part. He did a lot of other stuff with that.
But then you know who it is. You know exactly who it is.
Mike Whitwer, who wrote the book Empire of Imagination, which is a great biography of my dad. Chris Clark with my dad. Oh, some guy named Ed Greenwood.
Yeah.
Elminster. He'll be there too. And Kelsey Dion, who's did Shadow Dark, and my friend Todd Stashwick.
So wait, are they also going to be at GaryCon? So is this like
a lot of them will be at GaryCon, but
it's going to be like a 2-week event for them.
It'll be like a 2-week event. Yeah. So
Wow.
Mike Merle, I think Mike Merles is coming for both too. So, but the difference is at GaryCon there'll be 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about past, present, and future.
Yeah,
right?
I was just going to say. Yeah, Luke, I was watching your video, your YouTube channel. You have the first GaryCon, and I think that's what you're going for. Is just like the founders.
Really
yeah. That's a great idea. It's a great idea.
We want to, because honestly, sometimes in 3,000 people, which is not huge, but it's still a lot. People can get lost, right? And people don't, they're focused on gaming and do whatever they're doing. When there's 300 people at Founders and Legends, and there's 20 some guests over there or whatever. I mean, that's like 15 people to guest. So if you wanted to hang out and chat with Zeb Cook about stuff, or Ed Greenwood, play in their game or do whatever, it's very accessible.
Yeah, it's a little more intimate.
Yeah, you don't have to buy some high priced package to get an hour of their time or whatever it is. You're going to be hanging out and playing games with them because they come there to play games and hang out because that's what we do, right? So that's it's a secret. It's kind of like it'll be about the size of like GaryCon 3, right? Which was a couple hundred people. So and it was very friendly. So and I'll actually be there and be able to run games and chat with people too, as opposed to running around like
running the whole thing.
A guy with his head cut off, a chick with his head cut off. Yeah. So
well, good for you. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
and
great.
there could be some other people who are coming there that are coming just as attendees who you might recognize who they are, but I don't want to say.
Don't know.
They're coming to play.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Yeah. So that's the other thing is that lots of people come to GaryCon not as guests, but just to enjoy being there. And that's the thing. It's just what a wonderful salute. I know I'm rambling on here a little bit, but
no, that's okay. We're hoping to get some of those people on this show, but we're not going to say names either, because we just want people who play the game. We're just people that play the game, that have crossed the line from players into creators. Russell, of course, he's a pro DM. I DM for Chronically Ill Folk. Amber does her own crafting and YouTube channel. So
it's awesome.
So we're all in it together, I feel like. And 50th anniversary, we should all be bolstering all of ourselves.
Yeah. Supporting one another. And honestly, I mean, I think that's maybe a difference is that gamers, in my experience so far, and of course there's exceptions everywhere, but gamers are generally good people, right? And they're generally welcoming and more or less humble people, right? For the most part. I mean, my dad always considered himself a guy who got lucky and created this cool game that people liked, right?
Yeah.
In the 90s, still people would come up to his door, when I was in college, and we'd play on Thursday nights. But people would just come up to the door and knock on the porch and be like, "Are you Gary Gygax?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." Like, "Oh wow," they'd fanboy or whatever. Right. And so he'd invite him in and say, you want an iced tea or whatever it is, and he'd chat with him if he had some time, if he wasn't busy to do something, which more often than not he would. And if they were local, he got along with them well enough. He'd be like, "You're local?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I have an opening in my Thursday game. Can you play?"
So inviting.
That's how. I mean, we got lots of players that way because life happens and people rotate out. Or
I would have been afraid if somebody said, "Are you Gary Gygax?" I would have been like, "Who's asking?"
Yeah. Well, you could usually they kind of had that look in their eye, like a little nervous or whatever.
No, there's a few stories floating around out there on the internet. People that have played with your dad, I've read them. Like, "Oh yeah, I went and knocked. He invited us in, and we played, and then I came back next week, and we played again." And
there you go. Yeah. There's
I've read it.
It's true. It's true.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it might be a kid, it might be a kid that was a friend of, one of my brothers or whatever, who was 12 or whatever. I'd be there from college with, one of my buddies. Then there was like a teacher who taught at my military school, and he's like, oh yeah, I was over there and I ran into this guy and he's an English teacher there, so I invited him. It was Bill Schumacher, and it's just the guys who showed up and played. We had a lot of fun.
I got another question.
Yeah, sure.
What's your favorite monster?
Oh man, there's so many good monsters. So I'm going to say the Bullywug because I created that one.
Oh,
so
but yeah, I saw that interview too, which was really interesting to learn about that.
So but they're a pushover. They're not that cool. I mean, gosh, fun monsters.
And to play or to DM, I mean, those are two different questions too.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
and if you need to go, please just tell us to shut up.
Pretty soon, I'm gonna throw. Yeah, I just look at the time there. I gotta throw some steaks on the grill. Or
awesome.
I know yours New Zealand, not Australia. I would have said put some steaks on the Barbie, but I won't.
On the Barbie. Do you guys say that over there?
No one's gonna say that. I'm just.
Steaks on the Barbie.
I was being annoying on purpose.
He was saving it.
I was saving that little. But no, I really like orcs for some reason. I think orcs are great. I mean, there's like such a
wide range.
Yeah, there's so much you can do with orcs, and everyone's like, oh, it's just an orc. But yeah, you can do some fun stuff. And when you make them in, or kobolds, I've done some really fun stuff with kobolds where I make them plan traps and strategy and stuff. Because how do you survive if you're a half hit die creature in a mean world?
Yeah,
you've got to be cunning.
Right.
Yeah. And you got to have some tactics, or else you're just gonna get squished and you'd be extinct. So
maybe
those are fun. Yeah, right. Yeah, could be that. Dragons are fun to play, but man, dragons are bad news. They should really be like something you avoid because they're going to. Again, they're super geniuses, most of them, right? So they're going to have some strategy. Why wouldn't they have allies or minions that are working for them? Why wouldn't they have traps?
Right.
They're not just going to let you walk up to them and do something dumb. So you need to, if you have these big bad creatures, you need to put some thought into it. Now, if they're a brute and they're just, it's a hill giant kind of, like not the smartest kind of thing in the world, sure, maybe they would charge in or whatever. But if you're supposed to be brilliant, a genius, and you've lived hundreds of years, and you've amassed all this power, why would you put yourself in the line of fire? Why wouldn't you have traps, minions, other things like that would
obstacles,
weed that out? I mean, come on, are you going to do all the grunt work yourself? No. That's why you have minions, right?
Right.
Now, if you get through all of that, maybe you have to step up and
delegate.
Smackdown. Yeah.
Do you find that you have to run the game a lot, or do you get to play like an equal amount? Or
I don't get to play nearly as much as I would like to. I play most of my playing is at on streams, and then at conventions I run.
Okay.
I tend to run more. So, but I've had a blast. I mean, one of the things that I've enjoyed as I went to Gen Con and did some streaming with a friend of mine, Tommy Gofton from Lynn Vander Studios, was kind enough to invite me out there to Origins and Gen Con. And I got to run for DM for Deb Wool, or Deborah Ann Wool.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd run for her. I DM'd for her. The first game I ever ran of 5th edition, other than for my kids, was with it was at when I did Founders and Legends as a stream, right? A number of years ago. So not Founders Legends convention. I ran for Matt Colville,
Matt Mercer. I saw that
Wool,
one. Deborah
yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. TJ Storm, who's great. Kyle Newman, good guy. And then Eric Jordan, super nice guy who does Idle Champions, Codename Entertainment. All really good people, by the way. I was very fortunate, but that was pretty nerve-wracking.
Was it?
Right.
It was. I was very nervous. All these guys are like expert DMs.
Was it your first time meeting any of them, or did you were you already
I would totally be super nervous. Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I knew TJ. I'd met Matt in passing, Matt Mercer. I hung out with Matt Colville just briefly, super nice guy, but I wasn't friends with close. The first time I met Eric Jordan, I'd run some old school Greyhawk D&D for Kyle Newman, and because he's one of Joe Manganiello's friends, so I ran for those guys. So I knew them all a little bit, but I wasn't close to them. And you're streaming it live, right?
Live,
no pressure.
yeah, live ads.
No pressure. and all of them are pretty darn good DMs too. All of them have a lot of style. And Mercer with the voices and stuff, get out of here.
Yeah.
That's like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But all of them are really humble, kind people. Like I said, gamers are good people. All of them very, very sweet.
Yeah.
And I think I can, all of them, I call all of them today their friends. So I just had dinner with Eric Jordan at Gen Con, and I talked to Joe. We were trying to get to the gym. He's been out shooting a movie in Panama, I think, or something like that.
Oh,
So
wow.
and TJ, I've got to get him on, do some streaming as well. So yeah, I mean, I still interact with these folks.
That's great.
Kyle Newman just worked with Mike Whitwer and Sam Whitwer and John Peterson on sequel to Art and Arcana called Legends and Lore. So they were kind enough. I just got that in the mail. Oh, here's something I'm proud of as well.
Yay.
I was not talking about stuff. So I got this in the mail today too, which is the Dungeons and Dragons yearbook 2024.
That's right. I saw your post.
Yes, and there's a little convention in there called Gary Con, which I was very proud of. So that's one of the 5 conventions they mentioned in this book,
cool.
along with some of the other ones. So,
Nice.
So yeah, so yeah, if you want to come to Gary Con, do that fast. GaryCon.com, right?
Well,
if you want
fly me over, I'll come.
well, Jack Hackenbrook is coming from Australia this year, and he's bringing his whole posse from
so you just need to go to Australia and make friends with
and then
that
you
guy.
can hop in their luggage, and then it'll be good. But yeah, if Gary Con sells out, or you want something a little smaller with a more old school focus, although every game is welcome, as nothing is exclusionary. If you want to run 5e or anything newer, every game is welcome. That's a decision I made a long time ago. We're not exclusionary. If you have fun playing it and you think other people are going to enjoy it, please bring what makes you happy there and share it with other people. I think that's important to gaming, is trying new things.
Right.
So go to Founders and Legends. You can do that at foundersandlegends.com, and then just click the button. Founders and Legends is cool because there's still hotel rooms available in the hotel on site. Gary Con sold out in like 90 seconds or something that. It was gone. So that's just how, you used to be able to say, oh, I'm going to go to Gary Con like a month ahead of time, and it wouldn't be a problem. Now it's there's no way you can do that. So this year
getting bigger. It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
It can't get any bigger.
I was going to say it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
It can't. There's no
that last Gen Con was huge. That the crowds were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, not that I liked the pandemic. I mean, that was an awful time for everybody. But the first year that Gen Con came back, many people decided not to come because it was still a bit of a risk, right? It was about 35,000 people. It was a breeze to walk through the floors. It was like really nice and like less stressful. And then this year, of course, I went this year again. Peter Agson is such a gentleman. He welcomes me every year, and he's a good friend, and I enjoy going. But it was very crowded. So you were
sheer numbers
were fighting
huge.
through. And it's a testament to the show that they're running, that so many people love it and want to go. So that's a testament to them. Kudos. But yeah, 70.
And you said Gary Con will always have a cap, though.
Well, because I want to. I mean,
no, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Keep it an intimate event.
Well, it's important that it's in Lake Geneva. Lake Geneva is a town of 6,500 people.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. So the convention is half the population. If you think about it.
Yeah, it is. So it's a resort town. So in the summer, it may swell up to like 10,000 people with visitors. And that's why there's a large convention center there, right? It was a Playboy club in the 60s. There was a thing, if you guys remember that. It was a Playboy club. It was designed by an architect named Frank Lloyd Wright, who designed that, and then it was built in the 60s. And in 1977, Gen Con 10 was held at the Playboy Club in Lake Geneva, which is now the Grand Geneva Resort and Spa. So there was a tie to Gen Con there. It didn't stay in that location because, as you can imagine, people in the 70s are rolling up and they're like, wait,
what?
Why am I letting my 14-year-old son go to this place where there is girls in bunny outfits that were a little racy at that time, right? So they decided they moved that outside of Lake Geneva because there was nowhere else to go. They went to a Parkside University in Racine, Wisconsin, which is about half an hour down the road. And that grew to about 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people. And they had to go to the Mecca Center in Milwaukee. And then it outgrew Milwaukee. Of course, my dad lost the company prior to that. And then it was sold to Wizards of the Coast and then to Hasbro. Hasbro didn't want. They said, we don't run conventions. We don't want that. So Peter Agson was like, well, if you don't want it, I'll just keep it, since it's trash to you guys. And they're like, okay.
And that's where it ended up. All right.
That's where it ended up. And I can guarantee you, he is not regretting that decision. I suspect he makes a pretty penny from that convention every year.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
that's good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. So good stuff. So running conventions is great. And you know what, for me, it's an honor. It's an honor to run GaryCon. I didn't tell you the story of GaryCon because we got off to a different foot. So I'll give that to you very briefly. So my father passed away March 4th of 2008. For anyone who's lost a parent, you'll kind of understand how devastating that is and really kind of numbing experience. It was very cathartic to have people from all over the world message us, email, post. I was in recruiting command at the time. I was kind of like a recruiting company commander, and people called my phone, and so I answered it because it's listed publicly, right? And it was, senior officers basically saying, "Oh, I didn't expect you to answer, but Dungeons and Dragons was formative to me," and that sort of stuff. And I was like, I don't remember the details of the conversation, so I was kind of in shock.
Yeah.
But people just from all over the place were saying, it's like I lost somebody in my family. It's somebody who was important to my development as a person. And I didn't really realize that until that point, that it was so meaningful to so many people. I just didn't know.
Right.
I didn't understand that aspect of it. And so some people said, we're going to drive and make a pilgrimage to Lake Geneva to pay our respects. We didn't have a forum to host people. And I felt responsible in a sense to do so if people were going to drive out there. So I talked to my brothers and sisters, and we rented the American Legion Hall there, which was the site of many small conventions as a kid that I enjoyed. I used to
check out his YouTube video. There's a picture there. You got to see this place.
Yeah.
It's
a tiny little place, but
tiny little place. It's awesome.
Again, I was like 6, 7 years old. I would go up and play games with people, and they were very welcoming.
Right.
No one told me beat it, kid. Like you hit the road.
Right.
And so I said, okay, that's awesome. That's really cool. And I remember that fondly, and spending time with my dad and playing Pit and, watching old movies and, role playing and doing whatever, playing Cosmic Encounters, all these old games. Right. So what we did is we just, after the funeral, we held, I guess, a wake or a memorial. And we put up a screen and ran the D&D cartoons and the Futurama episode that he was on. We had a podium where people could share a story of my dad. People brought, food to share, and there was a bar there if you wanted to have a beverage of some kind. We played games, and people got up and told stories, and it was really wonderful. And at the end of that, I think it was Harold Johnson said, "Hey, Luke, this is a really wonderful idea. You should do it again next year. I really enjoyed it." And Jolly Blackburn was there, who's Knights of the Dinner Table, that comic, and he said, "Yeah, you can call it GaryCon." And I had no idea that in their world of Knights at the Dinner Table, their main character, who's a game designer, is Gary Jackson, which is a mix of Steve Jackson, the American Steve Jackson from Texas, and Gary Gygax, my dad. And he runs Hard 8 Games, and GaryCon is their Gen Con in their world, right? So I didn't know that, but they call it GaryCon as one word, so I made it 2 words. I just didn't know the difference. But he gave me permission to do that. And so I started GaryCon as a game day the following year, and didn't charge any money. And about 175 people showed up. I had no idea who would come, or if anyone would come or not. And of course, the Kenzer and company guys showed up, and they brought a bunch of books, and they said, "Hey, you can't pay for all this. Ask for a donation of like $20 when people come in." And so I did, and that helped raise money to offset costs. And then in the middle at 5:00, they stopped, and Tim Kask and Mike Carr and those guys, they all got up, and they sold stuff out of their bags or made sketches or whatever to raise money so that I wouldn't have to pay for everything. And I ended up with $400 more than I spent. And so I said, in good conscience, I cannot keep this money, because I was very uncomfortable with the idea of making any money off of my father's memory. That I thought that was inappropriate. Right. So I said, okay, I'll start a company and I'll put this to the side, and we'll make it for next year. We'll make it better. And that's what I've done every year, is just try to make it better and better and better, and have lots of, we try to, every Wednesday night when you come there, we'll do, like movies and pizza and free beer. And we try to, just make it a good experience for everybody, and a high quality experience, and have it in a really nice place, and try to, moderate expenses and things like that. And it's just been really great. And everyone's come and pitched in and been very, very generous. But that's kind of where GaryCon started. And it's grown to be a celebration of life, not just for my dad, but for other people who are no longer with us, who may have been, especially, we recognize the folks whose names were important to the foundation. But we also have a memorial wall where you can come and put up a picture and write a little statement about somebody from your gaming group who maybe is no longer there, because we probably, as we go on, we lose various people. So
Luke's got me thinking now. We need a role players Hall of Fame now. We need a role player Hall of Fame somewhere now too.
Yeah. So that's it. So and it's just a wonderful time, and it's gone. Gary, losing a parent and that anniversary can really just be like a punch in the stomach, right? It can take it out because it lessens, the burn, the sting, the pain lessens. But there's still times where, hey, I want to tell my dad this, right?
Right.
Well, you can't, right? He's no longer there. And your mom, whatever, the person, they're gone. And but instead of looking to March like kind of with a heavy heart, I'm excited because there's so many people who celebrate my dad's life and they remember and they're enjoying this thing that he created, and it just really makes me feel good, and my family members and I really love that. So it's a special event, and I think it's unique for that, and it's important that we stay, in my mind, that we stay in Lake Geneva, that we continue to celebrate those folks, not the roots of our hobby, and also the new stuff, and who's innovative, and kind of celebrate the positive aspects of role-playing games.
Right.
For me, that's important.
Luke, your dad's was really super duper important. I put him up there. I even put him above Stan Lee.
Oh wow!
Yes.
To be fair,
amazing too.
To be fair, yes, I agree with that.
I put him above. I put him above Stan Lee. I mean, I know Marvel is getting all the credit with the Marvel universe and their movies right now, but creating role playing and everything we have, and I don't think I'd be reading if Dungeons and Dragons books didn't come across my face because I was dyslexic.
One of the things that I've noticed personally, and I don't know whether you will jibe with this, but I'm curious. Like for me, learning D&D back in the 80s, like I got into it in like 1986, 1987. When I was about 10 years old, I think. I lived in Papua New Guinea at the time, and it was very, very inaccessible, to be fair. But for me, a lot of it was about like learning history, getting into history and finding out stuff about the real world. It was a lead into doing a whole bunch of research about real life and especially history. And then I got into other games and stuff as well. And that sort of all fed into the whole research thing. And I see these days people, gaming has become very self-reflexive, where games and movies and TV shows are all just referencing each other, and they're not referencing sources so much anymore. And I wonder how you feel about that, or if you've noticed that, or what you think about that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So my dad pulled things from history and folklore,
right,
to bring into gaming,
right.
But you know what? He created a world, right. So that's world building. You get story building, and that world is so vibrant that people treat it like the real world, and there's enough history that's been built that you can research that based off of what it is. So
sure, yeah.
I think I'm gonna fence sit on this one. I agree with you. It'd be wonderful to motivate people to reflect upon our world and see parallels in a fantasy world, or see how that's illustrated, right? So for me, D&D helps me understand. It's my framework for understanding the real world, right? That person has an 18 charisma, or low charisma, negative, reaction adjustment, or all those things, right? Or okay, that's a lawful evil philosophy, or whatever it is, right? It's a shorthand for me to understand and comprehend the world, a rubric, a framework. If people don't draw upon that, okay, I think it's useful, but it also is a testament to the rich worlds that have been developed and built, and interestingly enough, I just got done with a trip to Kansas City to visit some friends and look at a game that we're doing at GaryCon, kind of like half LARP, half die rolling game, like a 30-minute palate cleanser in between games. So if you
palate cleanser.
Yeah, if you took let's say you gave yourself 2 hours for lunch, or maybe 2 hours, some lunchtime, and you're going to walk through the vendor hall, and you end up having a little bit of spare time. You can go do the Seal of Gax, is what we're calling it. And it's a great little interactive game. So I went to the KC Renfest, and they play tested it there. It was very successful. And after that, I went to Fort Leavenworth and spoke to some soldiers at the School for Advanced Military Studies, which is, they call it the Jedi Knight. The Jedi Knights, they do all the planning. They're like your Pentagon Corps division planners. So it's a very select group of very bright people. And we had 2 hours with them, and we gave them a world building scenario. And we said, hey, here's, basically talk to us about, the U.S. military gets called to do missions that they're not expected. One of those missions is nation building. So let's stretch your imagination for a little bit. Let's say you have to go and do world building somewhere, and I need you to talk about population, politics, history, people, their languages, geography, economics, this sort of stuff. And the world we're going to give you is informed by an author, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Isaac Asimov's foundation, right? We just gave them the Shining, right? So we gave them these things, and they got 35 minutes to develop. These guys briefed some amazing stories, and of course, I can't. I video recorded it, and then I realized, well, I can't show any of it because these guys, I can't.
Right.
It's bad form. But I was just so amazed. This was like
super
amazing
creative
stuff
came out. Yeah,
but it ties back to they basically a lot of them framed it in the way they understand doing and analyzing a country. Because when you're a planner in the military and you're going in, somebody, your leader, right, your commander is going to give you, like, they have a style, right? So that's what the author is. The author gives you a style. One of the worlds was The World of Greyhawk by my dad, of course, as well. That was one of them. None of the 6 people or 5 people in that group ever played D&D, so they had to go from scratch. So it was funny. Other people had played D&D just by chance. Those guys hadn't.
Right.
But yeah, it was just amazing. And they framed things, they were able to pull out, prior learning that they've done and rapidly, form structures and figure out what it is. But, each one of their authors informed kind of how they would look at a situation. So there was really a lot of useful information that they were able, it was good for them to stretch their imaginations and take this fantasy setting or science fiction setting and apply it into what they're learning. So I don't even know how I got on this tangent, but it was just really cool to be able to do that and have this world building. But the world building is rich enough that some of these ideas, it's like you could absolutely write a setting based on
what
the 5-minute brief that they gave to me afterwards. It was really good stuff. So I can understand how you can get lost in yourself, in your fantasy settings.
Sure.
Because man, they're so good. Look at the Star Wars universe. I mean, that was just Lucas kind of pulling it out of his backside, right? It wasn't. It was like a Western.
Yeah, and now it's turned into a huge. Yeah, it's turned into a huge thing now. It's a humongous.
Yeah, and you got like technology. It's like Star Trek. They've got like the technology books and diagrams, all the machinery and stuff. I mean, it's all make believe, right?
Yeah.
So come on. Same with D&D. What are these? All these societies and stuff. So the more detailed it gets more rich and they get more immersed in there. So,
what did you think of the new D&D movie? Did you?
It was great, fantastic. Yeah, we screened it at GaryCon. They gave us an advanced screening, so we had like 300 people or so probably went to it.
Nice.
And
we loved it here too.
It was accessible to a wide audience. It had enough inside jokes that if you gamed, you got it.
Yeah.
But my lawyer, who who'd never played D&D, just knew tangentially through work, doing some work with me, what it was. Her and her friends loved it, and they were able to. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is really cool," and you didn't need special knowledge.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I love about that.
So,
I just wanted to touch base real quick on, we were talking about all the good that D&D has done. And I also wanted to mention, because I have a friend who is very just anxious. Just that's her setting all the time. And very introverted. And when I invited her to my D&D game, I don't know what I expected, but she has come out of her shell, and we've had so many conversations between me and her and other folks about the mental health aspect of playing D&D and how you can really work through some things or just play a different role that maybe you wish you could be in real life, but you can't. And all these things, it's like, it's a little bit of an experimentation that people get to do, and it's safe and it's at home. And that's the biggest impact I have seen with
therapy,
this
but
resurgence.
It's therapeutic.
It's therapy and therapeutic, and it seems to be more digestible, I think, to people that don't realize that they're getting help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't realize you're getting the help.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. You don't realize you're learning persuasive speech. You don't realize you're learning small group dynamics. You don't realize you're learning problem solving. You don't realize any of that. As a kid, if you're unsure of who you are, you get to test. You get to take it for a test run. Oh, am I this way? How does this work? Oh, that wasn't helpful. Or, I'm so shy. I can't do this stuff, but I'm, Bungo the Barbarian. He's never afraid of anything. I can totally do this. And then, of course, that skill ports over to real life a little bit, right?
Right.
And then you're able to speak up for yourself, and you're able to do that. Yeah. So I've heard similar stories to that many times, and it's great. I love hearing those stories.
Well, Luke, we really have to say thank you again. I mean, you only said you're going to stick with us for a while, and we're just going on and on and on.
Yeah, I know. You stick a quarter in me, and I'll keep going.
If I may say on the topic that you're just discussing, one of my players I've been playing with for 30 years. He's severely disabled, and for him, role-playing games. I mean, he's in a wheelchair, an electric wheelchair, so he can't do shit in real life. He doesn't have any what am I trying to say? He doesn't have any access.
Athletics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He can't do that stuff at all. So for him, role playing is a massive escapism. It's a huge outlet for his creativity, his sense of self, all of these things. His whole self concept is very tied up in role playing, and he's a really good role player too. So he doesn't get to run around and climb trees and do all of the stuff except when he's role playing. And so for him, it's a massive deal, and it's very therapeutic in that respect too. So it's a, different side of things. It's not just the mental health. I mean, well, actually in that case, it kind of is mental health, but for physical reasons, I guess.
Yeah. My brother, Ernie, was very sad that a young man who was, I'm not sure that the term, it might be paraplegic. Essentially, he is in an electric wheelchair, and I think he has to use like his mouth to do anything.
That'd be a quadriplegic.
It's a quadriplegic.
Quadriplegic.
So it's very difficult for him to do anything. However, he can communicate and enjoy his gaming. And so he said, hey, you know what? I can't get you in this game here at GaryCon. Let's arrange to have you come to my house and play. And so he's done that for like 4 or 5 years. Where they've had, Robert Donald PagerCon, I think is the gentleman's name. So he just has a little gathering there, and they play games, that sort of stuff. And boy, he loves it. He has a great time. And for him, this is, his imagination is free, so he can live. He can do. Like I said, he can climb mountains. He can jump off, high things. He can swim. He can do whatever it is through the game. And I think that's wonderful.
And it's great because you're not bound by a show's storyline or a writer's words. You're bound to your own choices, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is why we all love it, right? We get to, not only do we have to find a book or a movie or whatever that we identify with, no, we get to be that version of ourselves, or that character, that thing we want to explore, right?
Right.
Or that thing we think is funny that we want to explore, whatever it is, we get to be that, right?
Yep.
And with a group of other people, oftentimes,
develop
this thing, and all this crazy stuff happens, right? That we don't anticipate.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And shared enjoyment. I often call it a shared gestalt in a way.
Yeah.
There's sort of a lot of mental things that happen in the group too. But again,
important thing. Sorry, it's an important thing that I didn't mention that I think is very important. Since you're cooperating together, right, and you're often pitted against challenges that are given to you by the DM, right, and you have to cooperate to because each class has strengths and weaknesses, right? And a good DM will make sure that you're cooperating, right, and that each one is essential and gets their moment in the spotlight, right? So, and that's engaging. And with the tension, you really feel drawn into the story, right? You're drawn into it, and it's intense. When you tell those stories, when you talk about what happened, no one that I know, do you remember when I was playing Melf and then you were playing, Thorgrim?
Always in first person.
And we rolled these dice and we went in this thing. No, he said, do you remember when I was there? And you threw the spell on the black dragon and oh man, you disintegrated it, and then we were all saved, right? We're there. So it's all pretend, but we're there. We're there. And so that bond, it's like a band of brothers. So
it's a shared experience.
It's funny, Luke. That's my call. I say, with a little effort, cooperation, and creativity, you'll always play the game with the prime advantage.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
That's true.
I'm not a master, by the way. I am a narrative consensus engineer.
Oh, is that the way? Hey, Luke. So I know people can just Google you to find all the places that you're at, but are there any specific websites or anything you want to share that this is where you can find me?
So on the socials, you can find me at Luke Gygax, and I think it's Facebook/Luke Gygax for that, or Instagram and Twitter. I do have a TikTok, but I admit, being a Gen Xer, it's hard for me to TikTok. I got to get better at it. But I do have a TikTok, but I haven't put anything up there for quite some time. Other than that, of course, there's foundersandlegends.com if you want to find out about that, GaryCon.com for GaryCon. And then I do publish some works, as we discussed earlier, and my publishing arm is called Gaxworks, GAXXWORX.
That's right.
And you can find modules and cool clothing and other stuff on there to buy.
And your stuff's going to be on Backlit, right?
Backer Kit.
Backer Kit.
Yeah. So it was Kickstarted, and then we used Backer Kit to fulfill. And if you missed the Kickstarter, that's okay. It happens to the best of us. There's a lot of Kickstarters out there. Then you can go to Backer Kit and you can order them. If you want the modules themselves, they'll all be available on gaxworks.com in PDF version, and then in hard copy through my distributor, which is a friend of mine from 9th grade, who runs Trick or Treat Studios now. So
cool.
Yeah, we used to play
Great.
D&D as a kid, and then he decided to make always loved Halloween. He made a horror mask company, and he happens to love gaming as well. So his company is going so well. He's like, I'm going to make a games division of it. So I said, okay.
So cool.
There you go. Yep.
Excellent.
I need to chat with
Very
that
nice.
guy.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, his name's Chris Zeffro. He's a great guy. He's runs it out of Santa Cruz, California, so not too far away from
Okay.
there. So,
Yeah, I'm doing a whole series of Halloween YouTube videos right now for D&D, so I should reach out.
You should definitely talk to Chris. He's he's great, and I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you and talk about Trick or Treat Studios. So we'll give him a plug. Great guys there.
Good. That was nice. Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna let you go so that you can make your steak and
exactly. I gotta grill some steaks, and my kids are gonna be hungry.
All right, thank you so much, Luke.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Have a good steak.
I will. It'll be good times. All right, bye-bye.
See you.
Take care.